Welcome, welcome. It is Saturday, and this is our second iteration of Volume 2 of the Sabbatharium Hour. So happy to have a guest here with Aaron, the Metal Theologian.
Hey, thanks for
And
having me. I'm happy to be here, man.
on the side here, Logan.
Cheers, Aaron.
Everybody knows Logan.
Yes. Happy to be back.
So we got Marty operating things in the background, holding up the comments, so we don't have to do that legwork because stoners are pretty lazy.
Yes.
I know I am.
He's here in spirit, everybody.
And we have the kitty too.
So,
Oh, yeah.
It's important.
To
member
knock
of the
stuff
crew.
over.
So I reached out to you guys, and thought this would be a cool, fun topic. And I figured this is something that would already be kind of already in our psyche and already in our stash of things that we enjoy. Space is an easy topic. I think a lot of us have our wonders and mystery about it. So I thought of doing this for the Volume 2 second episode. And the reason for that was because I kept noticing some things that are kind of relevant this year and things that are happening with regarding space. As of like yesterday, like I just read like SpaceX went public. We had the Artemis 2 thing happened in 2026. We went back to the moon. And so my cousin who lives in Orlando sent me a photo of the actual launch as it was happening right there. So you can see the kind of smoke. So thought that was pretty rad. So anybody who are like doubters that, if we went to the moon or not, I mean, how do you explain things like this? You know what I mean? Like it's just
Like the clouds?
yeah, like the clouds,
Yeah.
So
It's chemtrails, man.
Yeah.
chemtrails that go up.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan directed that cloud path. I don't know.
So I thought it'd be pretty cool. A lot of things have happened with just things revolving the stuff with the cosmic and not been just up watching and binging on late night space related things. Check out the What If channel. That's probably one of my favorites. You know what I mean? That has a lot of cool stuff on there. But before we segue into a question that I had for you guys, just wanted to know, your thoughts on this theme and episode and what you guys thought with where your head were at with this. So I guess I'll start with you, Aaron.
That's totally fine. So what's the question?
All right. I mean, just with as far as the space and theme and topic and everything else in general, like, you feel like this is something that is kind of pretty easy and, it's something that a lot of us have in our collections, and probably accidentally, probably don't even realize it until you have to actually pull it and you realize that, how much of the stuff that we listen to that actually has some cosmic elements in it.
I mean, it was pretty easy for me, honestly. Like, I was when you first asked me about being on the show before the topic was nailed down, I was like, yeah, no problem, I can go through. And it's funny because I've never done this show before, with like sort of the standard metal thing. I've had my channel going for a while, and so a lot of things I feel like I've shown a lot, and so I should have to pick them through. But with this one, it was just like, no, the whole collection is my oyster because like it's all brand new to this show, so.
Yeah,
it was really easy. So when you said it was going to be more space themed, I was like, okay, I'll put these back and pull out these other ones a little more space. Like, no big deal. Is like, because that's the point anyway. If there's like space and shit, if there's like an astronaut on the cover, there's a good chance I'm going to buy it.
There was a lot of it too. A lot of it I wanted to pull too, but I'm like, but it doesn't quite fit the Sabbatharium theme we're trying to go for. So it kind of bleeds into other genres too, which is why I know a lot of us have a lot of this in our collection. So I don't know where your head was at with that, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I think every genre has its own take on being in outer space in metal, especially. It's just one of those like great unknowns, and metal loves exploring that as a topic. The outside of human comprehension, and for most of us, space is exactly that. So, but stoner, sludge, stoner doom, desert rock, like this stuff. At least half of it lives in space. The other half lives like, in Palm Springs and in California, but the rest is definitely space bound. So kind of like Aaron, as soon as it was mentioned as the topic, like a dozen albums immediately came to my mind. And not only just any albums, but like very formative, important, like early albums to me, like that kind of defined this style. So we'll be talking about some like formative years kind of albums for me, like, you know, that just define what the style of music did and really put a feel and a vibe. And I think Space, it has this vibe that, you know, the music kind of echoes, and, you know, there, even though the sounds of these albums kind of vary a lot, there's a certain vibe that I think is pretty consistent throughout.
Vibe is the big one. It's kind of what I had in mind too, because it doesn't always have to blatantly show an astronaut on the cover. Sometimes there are some things that are like kind of under the sheets, you know, and when you are done with the spin, it kind of takes you to another realm. You know what I mean? Sometimes it can be the underworld, but sometimes it's it's extraterrestrial. You know, like, so I'm kind of curious to see what you guys are going to pull. But I do have a leading question, and that is, and the reason I chose our preteen years was because I feel like that's where we have the most wonder. You know, we're innocent. Space is this big mysterious thing, and you know, we don't have life figured out yet, but yet we're ready to move on to beyond. You know, we already want to get away from this realm. But I kind of have the reason I also wanted to lead this question in was because I feel like with this panel, we are different enough in age where our experiences from our childhood with our relationship to what pop culture was like with space, whether it's entertainment or what was going on with the world, might have been perceived a little differently from, you know, where we were at our time in our childhoods. You know what I mean? So I figured I'll start this off with Aaron, because you're probably the oldest one on this panel. So I figured you might have some interesting stories, you know, and whatnot about what led you to this and what gravitated you towards the cosmos and whatnot. So what was the things that brought up excitement, but also what kind of gave you a sense of dread too? Because space could be a scary place too.
So when I think about this stuff when I was a kid, it's funny. I feel like I kind of came a little bit late to science fiction in a way because my dad was like really into it. And like with that influence there, I kind of feel like I should have latched onto it harder sooner. But he would watch shit like Star Trek. And when I was like 6 and shit like that, that just seemed kind of like slow moving and kind of boring and that sort of thing. Yeah. And he was actually a physicist too, who like actually knew about this shit. So in a way that might have sort of taken a little bit of the wonder out of it for me too, you know, or at least as far as the dread goes, because like if my dad understands it, then I don't really need to be afraid of it. You know what I mean? When you're that young. But one thing I do feel like I got to bring up here that's apropos is that I asked Logan who was president. He was born before Nixon was president when I was born, and I actually went to Star Wars when it first came out in 1977. In retrospect, I'm thinking I was probably my dad's excuse to go for himself. There we go. And by the way, I saw this Christmas special when it originally ran on TV, and I was one of millions of kids around the country who went, "What the fuck is this, man? This is terrible, Jesus!" You know. So that thing, I rewatched that thing just a few years ago, and it's as bad as it was when I was a little kid. But anyway, like when I went to see Star Wars, like they were still like hyping it and a whole bunch and that sort of thing. I mean, we were living in Cleveland. I went to the movie theater at Great Northern Mall, and there was a guy there dressed up as Darth Vader, like walking through the aisles and like sort of hyping it and talking to kids like me, and or him saying this movie's full of like action and like all sorts of cool shit. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, you know. And you know, it's funny like that I wouldn't have known who Darth Vader was then. You know what I mean?
Darth Vader is an interesting one because, you know, even to this day, when you bring up the Darth Vader like costume, it still has all that 70s aesthetics kind of thrown in there.
I'm partially kind of bummed I never got to witness like Darth Vader separate from this like money making machine that it's kind of become, because now I think it's lost a lot of the you know, the grim feeling and like that sense of dread just because of how overused, you know, Star Wars has kind of become. No offense to any Star Wars fans out there, I'm not sure.
When I saw The Empire Strikes Back,
that would have been scary, right? Like,
and he was like, "No, Luke, I am your father." I was like, "No way, holy shit!" Like that was a big surprise in 1981 or whatever that movie came out. You know, I'm pretty sure it was 81. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, that was like this big reveal, you know? And like now it's like the most trite thing ever.
It's a soap opera. That's what George Lucas described it as. You know, it was a space opera. You know, we just had the He-Man movie come out, and that literally exists because George Lucas was turned down for the toy line. I guess what company was it? And
Kenner.
Was it Kenner?
Kenner was the Star Wars figures. I don't know who did the He-Man ones. I was a little bit too old for He-Man.
Was that Hasbro?
Well, what happened was they wanted, obviously it was all about the toys, right? Just like Transformers and everything else. So He-Man only exists because they wanted to combine Conan and Star Wars into one thing. And you've got this sort of amalgamation of, you know, it's kind of what it resulted in. And it kind of took off. And here we are, you know, decades later, and they're still trying to push this thing out. And we get a new He-Man movie out of this. You know, I don't know how you feel about the OG He-Man movie, but I don't know.
I actually never saw it all the way through, honestly. And Mattel sounds right to me too, by the way. Yeah, I had another thought a second ago and I lost it. I remember when Battlestar Galactica came out, the original one. I was all over that shit too. And like my friends and I would argue about what was cooler, Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica and shit, which seems ridiculous in retrospect. But we only had like 1 or 2 Star Wars movies to go off at the time, you know. So.
Oh, that's true. It wasn't a whole like lore, you know. They were just kind of building it as they went along, and you know.
More or less. And oh, actually, another thing that I think is kind of funny is like, you know, now there's this whole generation of kids. There are a lot of people my age who like hated the prequels. I was one of them for a long time. I'll just own that. You know what I mean? But like now there are these kids who grew up and they like love the prequels, but they think the sequel trilogy was shit. And they're like, fuck that, it's fucking terrible. So I'm sort of looking forward to the next generation getting old enough, and they're like, no, the sequels, those are the best ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna be offensive when like years from now, when like the next generation will be like, well, Daisy Ridley was the best Jedi ever. You know, that's gonna make you spit out your drink. Be like,
or Ahsoka Tano, yeah.
It's already happened where people are celebrating Phantom Menace a little bit more than I remember. So
oh yeah.
Do you remember what that was like going into theaters to see that?
Dude, yes.
It was
Jar Jar Binks opens his mouth once and you've written it off.
Oh shit. And then the janky ass CGI all over that thing. I mean, I was like in my late 20s by that point. I was like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
Like, what do I do with all this?
We were there. I think I was
pod racing. And
here's the thing about the prequels, though, and I'll tell you something. That's a funny comment about Dirk Benedict, and it's kind of hard to argue with. That does give Battlestar some pretty big points. But although Mark Hamill, like with his subsequent voice acting career, like the fact that he skips on regular show and shit like that kind of gives some retroactive cred to the Star Wars shit too. Anyway, though, I think just in terms of pure story, and I'll die on this hill, purely from the standpoint of the story, the best Star Wars shit is the Clone Wars cartoon series.
I could agree with that. That arc is pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't believe how good it was when I started actually watching it and like paying attention.
And that's what brought back like Darth Maul and all that, right? Like, so
yeah, like when he like turned him into like a spider and shit like that. Yeah,
I caught glimpses of that. I gotta sit down and actually properly watch the whole thing, have a real opinion on it.
You got to give it a few episodes too, because it's still a fucking cartoon, right? It still has some corny trappings like to rope in the kids, but when you start to get into it, first of all, it's dark. Like there's a lot of shit that's a lot darker than ever happened in any like the feature films, and then just. And you know, but just give yourself a few episodes to sort of get over that hump, you know what I mean? And then once you get there and you just sort of like relax into it, and like when something corny comes on, you just go, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Then yeah, it's fantastic. There's all sorts of lore, all sorts of weird shit, like the space witches and that, and they actually like write it all into it in a really interesting way. It's like different ways of using the Force and all sorts of ideas they introduce, and just all this shit that's way deeper and just like more like. Just more thought-provoking, frankly, than like even the original trilogy.
All right, yeah, that's something to definitely dig in.
How pissed is the chat about me talking about that?
I think everyone's on board with you. All I know, they did justice to General Grievous, who he was like one of the biggest throwaway characters from the Clone Wars.
100%.
And they finally gave him like some badass like action and stuff in the animated Clone Wars, which that's what it should have been in the actual movie, guys.
Hey, check out what George just gave me real quick. He just came in. He was out with friends. He hooked me up.
Man, all right. Oh, Bucky's in Philly.
I'm glad they're sterile. That's good.
I thought it'd be funny with no context. All right, I don't want to bogart the whole conversation. That's sort of like my space thing from when I was a kid. Oh, the Ovions on Battlestar Galactica. Those were fucking scary, man. You remember those? Like the fucking weird, like four-armed, like insect men that would like lock you up and they're like wax you up on their honeycomb shit and like eat you. It's like, god damn, man.
It treads a line of terrifying and cheesy because it's all practical effects, at the time.
Yeah.
And you're watching this on this little analog TV, which might be a little grainy.
And the Twilight Zone was the other big one for me, actually. When I discovered the Twilight Zone, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
The Twilight Zone was the best thing ever, man. Everybody just coattailed off that show and just built their shit. That and maybe the Outer Limits, were like the two big ones, at the time. But yeah, it's like Rod Serling, he definitely held on to something there, They tried to come back. It wasn't the same without him,
And he's one of those guys that I feel good about having liked so much too, because like now I know about his politics and shit, he's pretty based. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the way I look at Mr. Rogers too, and go like, yeah, I really dug Mr. Rogers when I was a kid. And I feel pretty good about that because he was pretty based too, So
that sweater fooled a lot of people, though.
It's not like if you're a Hulk Hogan fan, you look back and go, God, he was a fucking prick.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have any of those, because I do, but
not
a couple of Mr. Rogers.
Obviously, in the 70s when you were coming up and all that stuff was happening, the moon landing was still kind of like you were still very young when the Apollo program was actually still happening.
I was born in 72.
All right, it's right on the edge of, I guess, when they were ending it. I mean, we could probably spend another $10 billion, keep this thing going. But
I think it's money well spent. As a taxpayer, I would be happy to do that and not like be farming it out to these fucking grifters.
Yeah, there's other options for sure with that, money.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I'm with you, and kind of lost that hype, at least from the government funding perspective. You already mentioned SpaceX and stuff, but I guess to kind of get into what I like with your question, Rick. I know you were maybe looking at me, to bring the 90s or 2000s perspective with like space and sci-fi. Well, sorry to disappoint, but my parents were like OG Trekkies. So my first real exposure to science fiction was the original Star Trek. Like, I think my first thought about aliens was, what's a tribble?
Why is it still watchable today, though? Even though
it's yeah. I mean, I get where Aaron's coming from with like it's slow, but I didn't really have too much else to compare it to. If that's like what I was raised on, like look, watching that, I watched the original, the animated series, and then they were big fans of Next Generation as well. So
I forgot about that.
All the fight scenes I was used to for a couple of years was like that lizard man going like this, and then Kirk going, all fighting in slow motion, and you're like, why is that lizard guy so stiff? What the hell? And then you're wondering if you can make that own makeshift cannon that Captain Kirk made in that episode. Oh, look, there he is.
That was what is it, Zorn? I think you called him, right?
That
relationship with it, which is
it looks like they're about to passionately embrace in that one.
It's all love
clip.
Fighting.
But so that was like my first exposure was to Star Trek and a lot more of like the science fiction stuff, Star Wars as well. And I will say I think my parents set me up to a more optimistic look at what science fiction and space travel would be like. Yeah. When I kind of started to discover it on my own, it was not that. It was definitely the horror element, which might come up a little bit, but I don't think as much as if we were exploring space and death metal, for example.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, when I started digesting space movies, it was Alien. I mean, it actually wasn't even a movie. First time I ran across Alien was at a library in the comic book section. Batman versus Alien. I don't know if you guys ever read like the DC Alien crossovers. There was Batman and Superman and all fighting aliens, and
period.
It was fucking gruesome, dude.
Everybody was doing crossovers. That was like a trend for a while.
There was Batman and Predator as well, probably Superman and Predator too. But the Alien and Batman really stuck out with me because like the face huggers got all of like the Joker and the Penguin and stuff, and there were all these xenomorphs that looked like the Batman villains. It was yeah, I had nightmares for years because of that. And then I finally watched the movies, and yeah, same thing. But some of my favorite films of all time are like the more horror themed space stuff, like Aliens for sure, an Alien. But then The Thing, of course, that's probably one of my top 3 favorite films. Yeah. And Event Horizon, which I know was mentioned here. I think maybe that was Brian. Cheers, Brian. Also, Event Horizon, fucking amazing movie right there. Totally messed up flick. That like that kind of like horror that's just out of your reach really sticks with you, and space themed horror definitely fits the bill. But as I said, I think tonight we're going to be exploring a bit more of themes like Star Wars and Star Trek related, or even Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy kind of stuff.
I think the appeal horror to something like you were saying, like the OG Star Trek, it doesn't make you think too much. Like when you start to get to like the more, like you get to Interstellar and things like that, like it's using like real principles. Like Event Horizon is like a real thing, right? It's like this black hole kind of thing. And I actually had to look that up, and it did a really clever thing by twisting into this horror kind of event. It kind of makes you think. But what thing about with Star Trek was that, like, you can't just reach star systems, you know, within like by lunchtime. Like it's the way they portrayed it, you know. Like if you're a physicist and you look at the way space handles time and distance, it doesn't make sense. Like it's just completely. It's our brains are not even developed enough to even comprehend those numbers. It's like to get to the nearest star, like to travel at the speed of light, it'll take you like 4 years.
Yeah,
you know. And then you look at the space programs, like we had like the Voyager, I think it was Voyager 2, reached Jupiter like in 79. In 81, it hit Saturn. It took almost like 9 years just for it to get to Neptune.
See, you just made me think of the original Planet of the Apes, where they're doing the travel, and one of their cryopods like breaks, and Charlton Heston wakes up and looks over, and the other guy's just a fucking skeleton because of how long it's been. Oh,
that happened in the Twilight Zone episode too.
Oh, look at that.
Everybody stole from Twilight Zone episodes. I think that's why I was a huge fan of the Simpsons thing, because it was so self-aware of it. We're like, well, everybody else is doing it. We're just gonna make Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
Based on all this stuff, you know. With my childhood, it was kind of like one of my most favorite things was when I was in elementary school and going to the Ocean County College, and they had like the planetarium there. This thing, that actual projector was used in a movie called La La Land. If you ever watched that movie, they took it from the Ocean County Planetarium there, and they celebrated their 50th anniversary. So they opened up in '74. But I remember like being like a sixth grader, sixth grader, and just being in awe, you know, by this projection and the narration and all that stuff, which is like, I don't even know if people still go to planetariums. Like, but I remember it was a really huge thing for like a long time, but I don't hear people talk about it so much anymore. But as a preteen, you know, one of the things that gave me dread was Superman 2, because it opened up with like General Zod and these guys kind of coming in, and they're right on the moon, and these astronauts go like, what? They'll get killed. And I'm like, Logan kind of looks like you look like the muscle from, you know, General Zod's muscle, just if he was vegetarian. But you know, but it's just like that scared the crap out of me, man. It was just because it's like, maybe this is why we haven't been back to the moon. It was funniest if you go back and watch Superman 2, it's the Artemis mission. They're like guys calling in and go, Artemis. And lo and behold, in 2026, you know, Artemis 2, there's going to be an Artemis 3. Apparently, Artemis 4 is when we're supposed to actually go back to the moon and land and do all that stuff again. So looking forward to that. So we'll probably be seeing that in our lifetimes. But one of my also early memories was this thing. Back in the day, the intro to this thing with that convertible, you know, going and crashing into the atmosphere, just burning in and everything was pretty cool. And but it also gave me dread. And then one of the very first films I remember seeing, which is celebrating his 40th anniversary this year, it's this guy right here. It's still the best one. it's still, you move over Michael Bay or whoever else. Like this thing right here was because it didn't give a shit. It just got right to it. It got right to the action. It didn't play around with origin stories, nothing like that. It just kind of just went right to it. And Orson Welles, who did his voice parts, and he passed away some 5 days after he did the voice work. We never really got to see the ultimate work. But if you can go back in time, tap on Orson Welles' shoulder, be like, you do know decades from now, your last work will be a children's cartoon for a toy line.
I don't know how many kids are watching that movie these days, to be fair. So he's
Decibel just announced this is going to be featured undercover, like with the soundtrack. So that's pretty cool. Wow. And it's being re-released in theaters. So I do plan to go see it on the big screen yet again for my 6-year-old self.
Awesome.
So the last thing too is one of the first conspiracy theories I remember as a kid, like hearing it, just being captivated by, thinking was that the moon landing was faked. And I remember people bringing this up, like the guy who directed this was involved with creating the whole set, man. None of it's real.
I think you're going to talk about Capricorn 1.
Yeah, people.
Have you seen that?
I don't think I have.
That's about it. It's like a late 70s movie about them faking the moon landing. And you know who's in it? O.J. Simpson. Everyone needs to see Capricorn 1 if you haven't seen it.
I will have to watch that just to see the juice bounce on the moon. Sounds fun.
Wow, he's
the juice is.
Was he still doing football then, or did he just get done with
still? Yeah.
Wow.
When did he retire? I don't know. I never paid any attention to football.
Yeah, he was a pop culture icon, man. Like people don't realize he weren't around at the time. He was huge. I actually had a football card of his, like way back in the day. I traded it for a bunch of comic books.
I just know he was busy in the 90s. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah. So it's kind of an idea, just kind of round review of kind of where we were, and how kind of we got into this, and obviously this will gravitate towards the music. And because it's all part of our pop culture psyche, but what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do some polls, and I have a feeling we're gonna piggyback of some of each other's polls. But I'm really curious to see what everybody has pulled. So I prepared for this. I got my little planetarium back here, so I hope it sets the mood. But we're gonna I guess. Aaron's our guest, so it just makes sense. And lead the way, man.
Well, listen, this is a little bit of a cheat because this isn't really very space-ish. But since in the first episode of the show, y'all like shouted out like Black Sabbath, the sort of an originator of the sort of music that we're going to be talking about tonight. I just want to sit here and give some credit to the Flower Traveling Band. This record, it's the first one I got. Most of the records only came out in Japan back then. This is like the exception. I think it came out in Canada only. And it's basically a compilation of songs off their Satori and Made in Japan albums. But this was my first one, and I fucking fell in love with it. This band is so good. They were so heavy and just so intense and so Japanese about it that it was just a fucking fantastic listen, super heavy. And if you're into this kind of shit at all, this is really sort of a seminal band for that kind of shit. And I don't use that word lightly because it tends to get thrown around a bit much. You know what I mean? But like, people talk about Bang and Sir Lord Baltimore, but the Flower Traveling Band need to be right up there with them too. And right up there with Black Sabbath, if you ask me, because they were that good. They didn't make as many records. Their first album was all covers, which, I've never dug into that one because I would never play it if I actually bought the thing. But man, I can give a shout out to that. But should I move on to something a little bit more sort of directly apropos right now, or
no, if you want. Well, okay. So I don't know how much everybody's pulled or whatever, but if you want to do two,
I pulled a lot.
Polls,
I just noticed that we already a half hour in.
You can do 2 or 3 in a row if you want. It's cool, man. Like some of us may have a lot to say, others maybe not so much. We'll see where everybody's at with this.
All right, I have about 2/3 more recent shit and like 1/3 older shit. So, chat, would you rather see something newer or something older?
Older.
Yeah, you want to see something older? All right, man, here we go. Fucking classic, dude. Yeti by Amon-Düül 2. Not to be confused with Amon-Düül 1, because they were actually two different bands. And this was more like the real band, Like they actually like played well and like got together and like practiced and shit. Almond Duel won. I suppose you could make a case for them being in here, but they just sounded like a bunch of stoners fucking sitting around beating on drums, which I'm not opposed to. I have Almond Duel 1 records, but Almond Duel 2 is like the real shit. And this is a fucking space rock record if there ever was such a thing, man. I mean, just looking at this sort of gives you an idea. I mean, the color scheme and shit like that. But they were weird. They had all these weird sound effects and shit like that. They were kind of doomy in that they had that sort of German darkness that like a lot of these bands sort of had. And it's 2 record set, but it doesn't fucking bore you, man. It's a fantastic record. And if you don't know Almond Duel 2, there's the spelling of it so y'all can see it.
That's one of those bands where I noticed lately the record stores have been getting a little let's say less generous with the pricing on some of that stuff. I don't know how hard it is really to find a lot of that in the wild, but whenever I do see it around, I'm like, it's a little more than I want to pay.
I got this off the wall at Amoeba Hollywood for $40 in 2003 or so, right around there. But I was like, holy shit, I didn't think I'd ever see like an original one, you know?
I'm sure at least the ones that I've been going to, some of the stores around the Jersey area and Philly, it's like, I'm like, man, it's like, I don't know how to gauge it. So I got to talk to other Almond Duel fans to know if I'm being ripped off or not with some of this, but
text me if you see anything. That's cool. And Human Falafel, as far as Asherah Temple is great too. And they're also spacey, but they're kind of more jammy and not as focused. Like the Almond, because I thought about pulling one of theirs, but as far as like sort of the overriding, like sort of this being kind of more like a stoner doom show, even if we're talking about space, Almond Duel 2 brings like the riffs and sort of the heavy like song structures in that too. It's not all just like the weird sort of out there jammy stuff. So yeah, there we go. Dance of the Lemmings is great too, but I'll take Yeti over it any day of the week. Phallus Dei is great. That's their first one. Like their first like 5 or so albums are unassailable. After that, they get a little bit spottier, but it's not like they get like bad. They just gets not quite as consistently like mind blowing. So
cool.
I'm 0 for 2 with Aaron picks so far.
Shit.
No idea what you're talking about, man. Sounds awesome. I'll have to check it out. And
I didn't want to bring the same shit that I thought everyone else would have. So
you will be succeeding.
Oh.
I am assuming. And then I guess real quick, Rick, of course, is the legit person who did his homework, brought an actual planetarium to his house. I'm the one who's slacking, being a true stoner slacker. Look at this fucking thing. This is my attempt at space. So this is not going to hold up when I'm showing albums. Look at that.
Looks like a black hole.
Oh, yeah. It's the Black Hole, the album.
That movie sucked, by the way. Even when I was a kid, that sucked. I sat in the theater. I was like, this is some bullshit.
Oh, there we go. Thank God. No space background for me. But also...
we can see the kitty this way, too, so it's all good.
Oh, there we go. He's tuckered out. Good for him. But no, you already mentioned Black Sabbath, Aaron, which honestly, one of my goals for this show, the Sabbatharium Hour, is to somehow shoehorn in Black Sabbath every single episode because... I mean, to me, this whole concept, this whole genre, everything.
Your Halloween.
Hey, we don't need to mention Halloween tonight, Rick. This is a Halloween-free evening. I'll still drink to that. I mean,
did someone say Halloween? Wait, what?
See, you said it 3 times. We said it 3 times collectively.
Yeah,
brought him in.
Marty appear.
Summon the Marty.
Damn it. I think Black Sabbath should be this series, that other band we were just talking about. But for me, the first like kind of piece of music that really made me think of space within the realm of metal is Planet Caravan. Honestly, my favorite Black Sabbath song is just so trippy and out there and like kind of beyond grasp. It's an amazing song. And lyrically, it's awesome too. Just to sit back and kind of drone out to it. We sail through endless skies. Stars shine like eyes. The black night sights the moon and silver trees. I mean, just great song all around. But once again, Black Sabbath being the originators of concepts for me. This was kind of the first album that made me think of outer space and the cosmic element as being synonymous with certain metal albums and metal songs. So definitely had to start with Black Sabbath. And Rick, I'll just do one pull for now because I don't want to steal something else you might be potentially about to talk about. So, but yeah, Paranoid also my favorite Black Sabbath album. I know it's overplayed. I know it's everything.
It's still a great record, man. I got back on this one.
Thank you, Aaron. See,
I reach for that one often.
This stream is going great, man. This is awesome. Because some people say it is overplayed, and you don't need to hear a single one of these songs again. But the deep cuts are so fucking good. But yeah, had to start with Black Sabbath.
They do like to put some cosmic stuff in there. Supernaut's another one. They just put these like spaced out kind of things. So they were already, I don't know what kind of drugs in particular they were taking at the time when they were coming up with some of these titles, But
I won't know. No.
I think they were on the bad drugs when they were making technical ecstasy.
Yeah, it was mostly on the side of acid, right? I would think. So I decided tonight to, kind of do the yin and yang, do something healthy and not so good for you. So I got my little Debbie Cosmic Brownies. You might see me munching on one of these or two.
Oh, dude.
Okay. With some Cosmic Brownies with some Cosmic Cranberry kombucha, just to kind of set the mood right. But Flower traveling band. So there are some bands who do the kind of the homage thing really, really well. It's like, especially if you get into certain bands and you haven't really gotten into some of the bands that they're kind of really influenced by, it's hard to make that connection if you have not checked out Flower Traveling Band, or even like a lot of the bands out there that do the Hawkwind thing. So there's a lot of that kind of thing. One band I remember I used to spin a lot back in the day when this came out. I just like kept playing this thing over and over and over, and I decided I gotta really start checking out some of their other material. So they're from San Diego, and I believe this is their debut. And they're more of a jam band. It's more like if Fish was more metal, heavier, but more psychedelic. Well, they're already psychedelic, but it kind of has a lot of those essences in there. So I'm talking about Sonic Prayer by Earthless, and they have a lot more elaborate stuff than this. But you go back to this, kind of where it started, and Nuclear Blast put this out, and what's cool about the vinyl too is they kind of do all the cool little treatments and whatnot. But this right here, it's 40 minutes. It's two tracks, 20 minutes long a pop, and so side A is Flower Traveling Man, and so you kind of know what you're getting with this. It's long, it's stretched out, and it's just something that I found myself kind of just spinning at the gym. Not the record, of course, but I put in my little digital player, and those 20 minutes is just enough of a session to kind of get you through on the treadmill or whatever. It's just, I feel like it makes those 20 minutes go by so fast. It's like, this is just it's such an escape. And you can tell these guys were really influenced by Flower Traveling Band. And then you get the side B, which is Lost in the Cold Sun. Really cool hook. Right on the second half of that song is when it gets to that heavier part. And you hear a little bit of the doominess kind of come in, which is really cool. And the follow-ups are also really good. They're mostly instrumental. But there are some moments where they do vocals, but it's not very upfront in the mix. It's a very kind of like something in addition to what they're playing and kind of in the background. But there's no one particular album I'll recommend. I do like them all. They're all pretty consistent. They're pretty good. But this is kind of where it started for me. But so Earthless, Sonic Prayer. So if anybody's not checked them out yet, you like the more jam band kind of stuff. They got a few live releases along with stuff like this. Is more studio recordings. I'll do one more to just get things going, because the band put out a new album, which I'm pretty excited about. But this is a band I started out with, Emperor's Rising, and then when they moved on to the bigger labels, here I believe it was Relapsed with No Comfort. There's your rocket. Kind of going through. I never thought of Monolord as a space band or anything like that. They were more. I thought them, especially with the last. Not Rust. I think it was Veneer, which was the second one. That was. I think that's still probably the darkest album they put out. It's probably the most doomiest. But then when they moved on to this album, you can tell they've developed quite a lot musically, and the vocals became more upfront, and it started experimenting with more psychedelic elements in their sound, which I never really used to do before. They brought up the fuzz. One thing I love about Monolord is just they do the fuzz really, really well. They're a really good arch amp kind of band, from Sweden, for those who don't know. But really cool release. I didn't know what I felt about this at the time. I thought it was a bit of a change in direction and sound I wasn't expecting, but I really warmed up to it. Yeah. So the Bastard Son, the opening is really good. Skywards is the one that kind of takes you in that cosmic realm, but really good stuff. All right.
Dude, I completely back the Earthless thing with. I wish Fish was just a little bit heavier, and there's Earthless.
Yeah, they take the
Problem
stuff they hate about
solved.
Fish and they fix it. At least it does for me.
Yeah. I don't know them that well, Earthless, but I like what I've heard. I have one record; it's really good. So
I think you would like them.
Next to Earth, and I
If
love.
you're listening to Flower Traveling Band, this is a more like as a modern take on that kind of thing. If they were using more modern production, and a lot of the more modern tropes, but still it kind of latches onto that classic era.
Cool. All right. Well, real quick, because Jay brought him up, I did pull a Cosmic Jokers record. This is jammy shit. In fact, these are basically rip-off records. The guy who ran the label or something got a bunch of basically krautrock all-stars like Klaus Schulze and the guys from Asherah Temple, which actually included Klaus Schulze, but he wasn't in the band at that time. It's another story. And a couple of the guys from Wallenstein and some other shit. And they all did a bunch of acid over a weekend and recorded a bunch of shit. And he basically just sort of released it. And so this is one of those records. So it's kind of an exploito record by that standard, but it's really cool. And this is ostensibly the fourth one. There were 5 total. And this is kind of my favorite, Planet and Sit In, like planets sit in. So Cosmic Jokers. But the one I really want to sort of use for my round here is Staying in Sweden with Yuri Gagarin.
Oh yeah, they're really good.
I want to check out a band called Yuri Gagarin. And what was I saying about if there's an astronaut on the cover? I mean, come on, right? Awesome band, pretty long songs, but 2 per side on this one, so not as long. Yeah. And just lots of stretching out. If they bring the heaviness, but they also bring the psychedelic weirdness and sort of the space feel and that sort of thing. And I absolutely love them. They have 3 or 4 records, and I think I have them all. There's a 45 that they made that I don't have, but Yuri Gagarin, fucking so good, man.
Yeah, he was the hugest celebrity in Russia at the time too. He was on all the promos and everything. He did, what he did. And what was the story behind him? He wasn't even supposed to go that day. I think his buddy was supposed to be. It's just one of those events where I think his friend got sick or somebody wasn't, and he ended up taking his place, and then he ended up getting the victory. And
I didn't know that part actually.
It sounds like the plot for The Clerks. Are you sure you're not mixing that up?
I know that later on he sort of fell afoul of the Soviet hierarchy. Kind of got sidelined a little bit. And I think he sort of died under kind of mysterious circumstances too, if I'm not mistaken.
It was still under the KGB, right? So yeah, it kind of whoa.
But yeah, quick shout out to the Swedish label too, K2 Commune 2, like KOMMUN 2. They put out a bunch of great records, and I have a lot of great Swedish shit that I found, and a lot of it was on this label. So I tend to buy shit by label. It's sort of a way of finding things for me. So yeah. Anyway, Yuri Gagarin.
This is one of those styles where you can kind of do that. A label can be your be all end all of space stoner, space sludge.
I was looking at that. I have stuff Heavy Sight, Cosmic Artifacts. There's a few of these guys out
Totally. Because when there are a couple, I figure when there are a couple guys running a label, you listen to a couple of their releases, and if they're good, it probably means that people running the label have good taste.
Yeah.
So I've done that a lot, and sometimes it hasn't served me all that well, but more often than not, it works out pretty well. Like, I went and sought out just about everything on the Or catalog. Speaking of the old German shit, and it's almost all fantastic. And Commune 2 is great, and there are a couple other ones we can get to in a bit. I don't want to
No, is that what got you to check it out? Was because of the astronaut? And
that specific record? Oh, 100%. Yeah, because I started getting into this stuff, and I checked out some of because I really just got into this shit within the last maybe 8 years now, something like that. But it's relatively new to me. You know what I mean? I wasn't really on board with all the shit when some of it was coming out, so I started looking, and I was like, okay, well, what's that fucking band or that fucking label? Riding Easy. So a lot of their shit was just fantastic. They had Here Lies Man and some shit like that. And I was like, okay, I was sort of my first, they kind of put me on to Monolord too. And then I discovered these guys, and Argonauta out of Italy put out a lot of great shit. That was the one I wasn't going to say a minute ago, but fuck it, So it's okay, these guys put it out. So this new one that they're putting out, that might be good too, And you could do that with Metal Blade and Combat as well, and that sort of thing, So it's the same sort of thing, If their label is, Capitol Records, you can't do that because it's just too broad. But for these little indies, you can kind of trust the people doing their thing.
Yeah, there's a healthy niche out there.
It's a good point
for this stuff. I guess for me though, I'm still going with the bigger names, low hanging fruit and stuff. And this one is actually an extremely important album for me. Newer band, but to me, I mean, maybe back when they came out, for people who were already a fan of this stuff, they were derivative. But for me, they were originators of, man, what is this heavy riff filled music? The Sword, Warp Riders. This is their 2010 album, concept album about. I mean, I don't really know, space travel and Odyssey, but awesome album cover too.
Yeah.
Supposedly you can see a duck, which now someone pointed that out to me. I can't unsee it, unfortunately, but
I heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the spaceship is very cool.
It's a rocky ducky.
Yeah,
as you could say.
This band, of course, their first 4 albums are to me legendary, and this one is my favorite of the 4. The first one I ended up picking up when it came out, one of my first ever metal albums that I purchased. And actually, the first live concert I ever went to was The Sword and Red Fang touring for.
Red Fang is great too.
Yeah. If only they did space stuff, but only only PBR drinking for them. But yeah, the sort of were touring for this album, and I saw them live for the first time, and absolutely blew me away. Made me basically fall in love with seeing heavy metal in the live environment, and what an amazing experience it was. So whenever I play this, it's just a deeply nostalgic album. And
that's the third one, right? I think it
yes.
was Age of Winters, Apocryphon, and that one.
No, Age of Winters, Gods of the Earth.
Gods
right?
The one with the sword, yep.
Apocryphon is the one after this
album.
one. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they've been pumping it out. They that's the album where when I remember when I was checking it out, that was the first time I started hearing more and more of the ZZ Topisms.
Yes.
Kind of creep in.
There's a song called Lawless Lands, which is just this Western, sword and sandal, almost cowboy kind of track on here, which is amazing and potentially my favorite track on the album. But this thing is chock full of riffs. I mean, it gets right into it with instrumental, Acheron, Unearthing the Orb, and I don't know. I mean, it's all a high brow concept album, about some kind of bounty hunter on a tidal locked planet where one half is in constant daylight, the other half is in constant night, and I don't know, who knows what he gets up to, but some kind of space shenanigans. It's fun shit.
That was the last really great one for me. They started to lose me a little.
Apocryphon is awesome as well to me. It's right up there, but there was a sharp turn towards the ZZ Top kind of sound after that one. I don't remember the name of the album, but yeah, it was a letdown. It was one of the early disappointment.
It was high country, right?
High country. Thank you. Yes.
High country was low country. The actual artist is Dan McFarland. There's actually sent a screenshot where his website, which just kind of goes into some of the stuff that he's done. So he has a really cool style. It reminds me of the stuff that we're doing in the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, so he also he builds these little pieces of hardware, like these little, like, I guess mechanical boards and stuff, which is pretty cool. So I guess he's a really good industrial designer, but painter, of course. So, but I thought that was worth showing. DanMcFarland.net for those who are curious. So sometimes you see like artwork like this, you assume it's some older art they just licensed, but no, they made it for the album.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
And I'll sneak in a second one so we don't make this a 3-hour or a 4-hour.
Yeah.
Like, let's try to avoid 4 hours at this point. Stream. Other low-hanging fruit, another band I always have to mention. To put Marty to sleep behind the controls. Sorry, Marty.
That's a great record.
Sleep.
That's probably my favorite Sleep right there.
Look at that. Aaron continues to rule the stream. This was a great comeback album. Like, it's totally nails the Sleep sound, but I think is potentially more exciting. Like, I do prefer Dope Smoker and Sleep's Holy Mountain to this one, but the fact that it's in the conversation for me is, high praise.
They put out the albums very infrequently, so they're about due for another one. Like, but that was the last full length I think they put out. That album,
man. Yeah, the album cover.
That's the final boss stoner like space album right there. Like, I mean, come on, the guy's token up in an astronaut suit.
And this, you remember when this came out? I think it was 2018. It was a surprise. It was a surprise drop on 420. Talk about just Christmas. It was absolutely a great day. The album cover itself is amazing, but do you guys know the gatefold? I am sold. Let's just skip to tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
Dude, that's a little tribute to ZZ Top, though, man.
Yeah. What album is that does
Tres Hombres with the tacos and shit in the gate with the same tablecloth is what gives away the game.
And then we got, I believe we got Giza Butler on the toast, and then
shit, that's funny.
Maybe it's Iommi on the milk. Someone's on the milk jug. I don't know who's on the milk jug over here, but
I'm gonna get my record of it and check. I need a drink anyway.
I think for those who can't get into Dope Smoker and these albums, like, that might be a good introduction if you want, especially if you were already a High on Fire fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that one moves a little faster. Moves a little more. It's probably from all the years from doing all those High on Fire albums, and then to put out another Sleep album. I think Matt Pike, these guys it kind of just rubbed off on that album. You can kind of hear a little bit of those traces in there. It's still a Sleep album, don't get me wrong.
Which is why it's great, but I mean, you get the tracks like Giza Butler. I mean,
yeah,
it's awesome, and I just love the lyrics too. I meant to write some of them down, but go look up the lyrics to Marijuana Knots theme and Giza Butler. It's absolutely legendary stuff, in my opinion.
I think that's Geezer Butler on the milk carton.
Oh, okay. Was it Iommi on the toast?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I'm not the king of this shit. I tend to sort of like not really. I mean, I have no idea what Sleep looks like. I couldn't even tell you how many people are in the band.
I wish I sent the band photo of Sleep during this era, because there's one of them posing like, astronauts, kind of looking out at the stars. Absolutely.
I knew I was looking at the for that. I was going to pull it. I was like, I have a 90% chance you're going to pull that one.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a great record, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the one where they really sort of like where it all comes together. In fact, too, I mean, it was also my first one, so there's that. Let me just see that. But like Holy Mountain kind of does one thing, and then Dope Smoker kind of does another thing, and this one kind of like finds like this balance. It's just perfect. So,
I would agree. I would agree with that. It's right in between the two sounds.
Cool. Yeah, that's on the band. A lot of bands can compare it to. I figured it's going to either be Sabbath, Sleep, or Electric Wizard. Like there's sort of this trio band going to get thrown into when it comes to the stoner part of things. But yeah, that was a good pick. And I know you wouldn't let me down with that one. And by the way, This was a gift from a friend I used to work with, and so thank you, Brianna, again. That's how I got a copy of this. But really, really cool. But I knew not to pull it. I kind of did, but but that was your pull. You know what? I'm gonna take a little segue, and we're talking Doom, Psych, and and space rock and all that stuff. But I'm gonna do probably maybe because I don't know if you guys pulled anything in this side of things, but Death Doom, and so I'll pull the one Death Doom for tonight, only because I feel like this is a really good band, and I don't hear enough people talk about it. And I feel like if you're a fan of this disembowelment kind of stuff, you know what I mean, kind of an arena. This is a band from Italy, and Assumption, and so this is the 3 appearances, and obviously you kind of see all the cosmetism in there. So I believe this was their first one. Century Ruin put this out, and there's all the vibes. You do get the disembowelment thing. You can kind of tell from the influences from that logo. They kind of took a little spin off that. Haitian Tides, I think, was the last one. Another that's really good. But they kind of take that really broad, expansive Death Doom, kind of the cavernous thing. But I feel like with here, it does give you those cosmic vibes. This called the 3 appearances. It kind of talks into the topic of the 3 stages of death, which is like, I think a lot of cultures have their own kind of ways of bringing it up. I think, but really what it comes down to is the first stage is like the physical death, which is like your body. The second phase is when your body dissolves and goes back into the earth. And then the third stage of death is when you're no longer remembered or talked about. You know what I mean? The entity of you that no longer exists. You know what I mean? So it kind of just takes on this form. Eventually we're all going to get there. Once the sun disappears and dies and humanity's gone, we nuke ourselves or whatever, nobody will be around to talk about us. This episode never happens.
There's the optimism I was looking for tonight. Thank you.
So, I try not to let anybody down with something to bum you out about. But yeah, check out Assumption, man. Really good. Again, really early one, but man, they never let you down. So, like I said, probably the only Death Doom I'll pull tonight. Still Doom. I'll do one more. Okay, here's something with a little bit of a twist. So Steve Dodd got really recognized because of this thing. Everybody was blowing this one up, and that artwork, awesome, right? But this is more, I guess, again, they were described as the Pink Floyd-y kind of death metal. But if you took this style, I remember first seeing this, and immediately when they dropped the album art for this, I already knew that this was the same dude behind this Lord Dying album. And Lord Dying are from Portland, and you can kind of tell they have that sound, very sludgy, very heavy, harsh vocals, and it's kind of where I came in with them. And these guys out of nowhere put this thing out. I had to actually double check that it was the same band because the logo, all this stuff just kind of screamed at me like the 70s. And it had that cool sci-fi stuff going on that I really enjoyed. So when you actually start to spin this is a version of Lord Dying where they started introducing clean vocals. There's psychedelic elements, there's progginess kind of thrown in here on top of that layer of sludge that they do. They have another album that came out not too long ago after this, and it kind of puts on more of that direction. But I feel like this one has a little more of the spaciness than the last one did. But here's where they started to really take a direction on their sound and move away from just a simple sludge. It really developed as musicians. They wanted to do something a little more elevated with this. But nobody really talks about this. This is a really good release called Mysterium Tremendum. But yeah, if you started out with Lord Dying with the first 2 albums, go back and you didn't like those, go back and check this one out. They definitely are a different kind of band now. But I feel like for the better. They're no longer more of the one note thing they were doing when they first started out.
That's interesting. You know, I gotta say, because I've been siding with Logan with all this shit.
Yeah.
I used to have that First Blood Incantation record with the alien on it. I thought it was bullshit, man. I thought it sucked.
Oh.
I listened to it a couple times. I was like, dude, I'm not buying what these motherfuckers are
You
selling.
can start out with like Star
I don't know what's up with the
or
fucking-
a little more extreme.
So like I'm playing good cop, bad cop here.
Yeah, that I think that was like an album of the year for a lot of people, like that, the Last Blood Incantation, and it was on
I
like
think it's stupid, dude.
it was a lot of mainstream magazines and stuff were talking about it, and I think a lot of people too felt it was a little trendy for their liking, for what it was. I personally enjoyed it, but I understand where people are coming from with that direction and kind of where they were going, especially if you don't like the more progginess side of things. You know what I mean? A lot of people kind of stopped at Star Spawn. From there, you couldn't get into some of the later ones.
I like a lot of dog shit records too. So
Yeah.
That isn't a mission. All right, but you show some cool stuff there.
all right, well listen, I kind of can't handle that this hasn't been shown yet. So we're gonna bust out the Hawkwind here.
Oh, the Hawk.
Because we really can't have this conversation without Hawkwind. I mean,
Yep.
they so thoroughly defined space rock that it's kind of hard to think about. It's fucking Hawkwind, man. So I kind of wanted to show Space Ritual because that's kind of the most directly clear one, but I love showing this one off because it has the fucking cover that folds out into a shield. I mean, how fucking badass is that?
I did not know it did that. That is insane. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get an early pressing of it, but
It looks like a couple of things actually on the other side there, Aaron.
yeah, on this side here.
The other side.
Hang on.
See, if you don't have the vinyl, you wouldn't know because my CD copy doesn't do any of that stuff.
It looks like a mask or something.
I'm picking up what they're putting down. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Warrior on the Edge of Time. I mean, it's like their fifth album too, and it's not that often I'm sitting here hyping a fifth album, But I thought their first record was a little bit. It foreshadowed great things, but it wasn't their best. But I think like the next 4 or 5 records are just unassailable. And then later in the 70s, I never got it's quite as deep into it either. But I kind of want to give that shit another chance actually, because I haven't heard a late 70s Hawkwind record in about 20 years, and now I'm kind of thinking, maybe it's time for me to reassess because maybe I was missing some,
No,
So listen, I'm going to go from the most obvious one, though, to someone that probably no one's heard of because this is a genuinely obscure band. And I'm actually I got a little special treat for everyone here tonight because I don't know that most people watching this right now have probably never seen this on the Metal Theologian channel, but I'm going to show a CD.
Ooh.
I don't think we knew you owned CDs.
I have about 10 CDs. Actually, like one of my really early videos was called My Entire CD Collection. I thought it was kind of funny that I could make a 15-minute video and show them all. But yeah, this band Nucleon. Here, let me pull this thing out so you can see a little better. They made this one called Hyper Emitter. And when I was living in Austin, actually, I flew up to Cleveland for a weekend to see the Easter Monkeys because they were doing a reunion show. But I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and the night before we went to another club to see there were some bands playing. We were like, what the hell, we'll go. And Nucleon played that night. And I was like, holy shit, these guys are fantastic. They had the heavy riffs. They had the fucking weird, spacey sound effects. Yeah, man. Fucking Nucleon. There are a couple things that I really, really want to see on vinyl someday. And one of them is Detergent Bubble Bath by Pakeni out of Finland. And another one is Hyper Emitter by Nucleon, because this thing is fucking rules, man. And it's funny, they're a little bit silly without being over the top. There's a song called 50,000 Feet Tall, where he sings about being 50,000 feet tall. And I kind of love it when someone says, when the lyrics have something where they're saying something that's obviously not true. You know what I mean? So Nucleon Hyper Emitter. No one's heard of this thing. I actually looked on Discogs before that we started, and there weren't any for sale right now, but I think the most expensive one that ever sold was $10. I got this at Record Revolution the next time I went to Cleveland. Just they had it there, and I was like, I'm fucking stoked because I want to keep this thing forever. And so far I have. And they were great. They were really early. They recorded this. I would have seen them in probably, let's say I lived in Austin from 2000 to 2002-ish. I was there for 9/11. So it was would have been right in that time frame that I had my own experience. Apparently this was recorded in like 98 based on this. So it's early for what it is, which is really heavy, like stoner, doomy space rock. And I fucking love Nucleon. So much so that like I have it on CD.
I'm sold. I'm trying to find Nucleon now on something to check out.
I found a video of a Green Acid. I was chatting with Eric Bauer earlier, actually. I was trying to find something for him, and I found a fucking song on YouTube. It had 37 views and no likes until I gave it one. That was the song Green Acid, if you want to go look for that.
We're scraping the cosmic underground here.
That is sad when I see stuff like that. I'm like, but Taylor Swift would get 2 million likes in a video. I'm like, what the hell? And you get stuff like this left in the dust.
Yeah, like seriously, if you don't take anything else from what I'm saying, like, do yourself a favor and go give Nucleon a listen because they fucking deserve it.
Wow,
sold.
Nobody band from Cleveland that I just happened to see randomly and they blew me away.
it's worthy of your CD collection. That's already telling.
One of 10.
Yeah.
But no, I guess I'm gonna show 3 here, just piggybacking off of Aaron real quick. So this is why I feel like I can show 3. Oh yeah, you mentioned Hawkwind. So
Hell yeah.
This I've really only heard this one and like actually the one you showed, Aaron. So I'm very much behind on the Hawkwind stuff. But In Search of Space, this is their second album. I want to say 1969 or maybe 72. I don't know.
I don't know right off. I think it's already 70s, but I'm not sure.
Is it already the 70s? But this one's worth it for the opening song, You Shouldn't Do That Alone. A 15-minute, like, almost instrumental, but there's this just, like, panning vocal delivery of, like, someone driving a spaceship about to crash. That's what it sounds like to me. I have no idea how else to describe it, but it is total, like, psych out there, repetitive and, mesmerizing kind of music. So,
100%.
Yeah, have to mention more Hawkwind to piggyback off of Aaron. And then low-hanging fruit for me, a very formative band and an album that I absolutely worshipped as a teenager and, basically still do. Really not a metal band, but, like, metal adjacent. Clutch. Any Clutch fans in the building over here?
I don't mind Clutch. I'm not a huge fan, though. I'd be lying.
Well,
actually, I didn't like that one.
Oh, you didn't like this one?
What's the one called? Earth something? Like
Earth Rocker.
Yeah, Earth Rocker. I like that one. Didn't rip my face off, but I liked it. That one I wasn't really crazy about.
That's.
Well, I should hear it again. It's been a while.
Yeah, this is like their mid 90s one. Like this was 95 or 97 or something. Earth Rocker is like 2012, so that's more when they're fully like almost a blues rock band, which I absolutely love. Earth Rocker, it's one of my favorites as well. But this one just has some anthemic space jams that just basically bring this idea of being in outer space to life, and the feeling of just kind of being out of your element, out of your gourd, drifting off into the cosmos. Space Grass is, of course, the song that I'm talking about. It is a top-notch, like, absolutely perfect psychedelic riff song. Just, this dude is driving Dodge Swinger 1973 Galaxy 500. Like, it's absolutely a perfect song, and it swings back and forth between, like, being very spaced out and atmospheric to just this heavy riff that kind of comes in. But let's see, my favorite lyric is let's see, where is it? Let's see, there we go. Jupiter Cyclops winks at me. He knows who's driving. Hit neutral in the tail of a comet. Let the vortex pull my weight. Push the seat back a little lower. Watch light bend in the blower. That's, I don't know. It just summons this vision to me.
I've never paid attention to the lyrics. I got into that. Well, because that's one of the ones I got into early because of Napster, and I used to do homework to that album. I just let it kind of play in the background. It was the perfect material for putting together like my little art projects and stuff at the time. So Clutch did the trick,
This original like self-titled Clutch album is just the perfect like American paranoia of the 90s. Like we're talking about someone having the body of John Wilkes Booth, aliens all around. Like the track Escape from the Prison Planet is another highlight. Animal Farm. We've got the closing song is Tim Solt, who's the guitarist, versus the Greys, which if you watch X-Files, there you go, the Greys. So that Clutch album, come on, highly regarded, highly recommended if you've been avoiding Clutch, at least in my opinion. And then one more low-hanging fruit, Monster Magnet. People already mentioned them in the chat. I know it's funny to hear who is a Monster Magnet fan, because people that I wouldn't expect being a fan of this band are Marty, for example.
You know they have a 2026 issue. Finally,
no, I did not.
I think the 2012 was the last. Like there's a few bootlegs that came out since then, but A&M put Dopes Infinity back out, and because Aaron was talking about the big labels. We like to stick to the the more stonery labels, and but being an A&M at the time, the thing about Monster Magnet is this was a band coming out doing this thing when it was already on the decline. Nobody was looking for this sound. Nobody was. This is a band from my neck of the woods. They're from Red Bank.
Yeah.
Right. and so which kind of hit closer to home for me. But I now remember like that whole retro sound and that whole space rock thing was not something. People were looking for the Seattle side of stuff. And the grunge was the big thing. That was what was airing. That was what people were, if you were not only enveloped in the underground and metal, if you were also into other things, you weren't looking at Monster Magnet so much in the mainstream. At least it's kind of what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was also cool about Monster Magnet is you could tell that they were pulling from Hawkwind. Like they weren't necessarily pulling from like metal specifically. Like I think they're one of those metal adjacent bands again, but like that 70s more psych and prog stuff is what they were pulling from versus Sabbath and all of that ilk. So an interesting like left turn to what you could consider like a classic metal stoner sludge sound. And just to mention like some space related key cuts on here, Ego the Living Planet, come on, instrumental track, except he says I talk to planets, baby, and it just launches into this one riff for like the whole track. Absolutely awesome. King of Mars as well, and then of course Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Absolutely,
King of Mars is probably my favorite on there. The whole thing, though, it's just great.
Yeah, I've always liked Monster Magnet too.
See, there's a lot of love for Monster Magnet from.
I bought a copy of Spine of God in the Wild actually back like in the 90s, and I let it go when I fell on hard times. I kind of wish I had because now it's probably worth some bucks. I have a copy of Super Judge now though. It's great.
Super Judge is amazing, dude. I almost pulled that one, but I didn't find as many space related themes on Super Judge as I did here.
That's why I didn't pull it actually.
Okay, yeah. And I wanted to pull their breakout album with Space Lord on it. Why am I Power Trip? But I also didn't because that one actually gets shown on here a lot. Marty loves that album. Power Trip it might be my favorite Monster.
Probably their commercial hype.
It's their commercial hype, but they still bring the songwriting and like these just very energetic and memorable like spaced out anthems. I love Power Trip, and honestly, I love Monster Magnet across the board. I don't think they really have a terrible album.
I never heard that one.
Years was when they had was Ed Mundell, the guitarist. Like he had I think he was up to the band up to 2010. I think it was. He had a run, and then he moved on to his own band, and he also sells his own fuzz pedals too, which you can't find anywhere because this is a problem when you do limited run stuff. It's like you're probably gonna pay stupid money for it. But yeah, that's a good pull, man. I know when I kind of hesitated because I'm like, those Affinity fucking rules. All right, so you know what? I'm gonna piggyback off that real quick, and
it's like a circle piggyback.
Yeah. So because you described Hawkwind, right? And these guys, like, if you wanted a love letter to Hawkwind, you're probably not going to see the cover too well here. So here's a thumbnail of the cover. Just look at that artwork. You got the what do they call it? The Cosmic Bowl. Like he's like on he's on most of the albums. We talked Planet of the Apes earlier. You know, it just has all these little things kind of thrown in there. And this is their tab EP. This actually was recorded before. I think it came out around the same year Superjudge came out, but it was recorded well before that. It's got a very unconventional structure because like the first track, the tab song, it's like 30 minutes long. It's something like that. It's a real long jam, and it's just. And then this side here, this is one of the hype stickers, limited edition, fucked up cover. This ain't a follow up. It is what it is. And what they mean by that is this is a limited edition version of this, where this is the front and this is the back. They're just trying to let you know. But yeah, really, really cool. 25 is a bit of a faster track. It's shorter. It's still a long song, but it's and they never went back to this kind of setup ever again. They kind of want to do this one-off, really unconventional long jam, psychedelic thing. It's got a lot of really cool spacey sounds and stuff kind of thrown in there. Very over the top, but done in such a way, very satisfying listen. But so anybody who hasn't checked that out, it's a really interesting release, but it's not like their other albums. But while we're on that, this and you guys brought up some bands that I feel like needed to be mentioned, you know. And again, Hog was one of them. When you bring up the 90s, and when I was getting to like the the Napster stuff, there was a few. Clutch was one I was downloading and checking out their stuff, and I eventually came around and picked up some of their stuff. Another one was with a very peculiar name, Orange Goblin.
Oh yeah,
which is I don't have the edition. They have Into the Void. They did a really cool cover of it on the. I think you have to get the CD for that if you want the bonus. But they recently broke up. So they disbanded. So this is the time to get their discography. Now they're all their stuff is out. But these guys have an English band. They have an interesting history. They kind of started out as they had like death doom elements when they first started out. If you listen to the early demos, they were like a different kind of band. They were kind of doing the Peaceville thing, and then they kind of pivoted and they kind of decided to do this. I don't know if one of the members came up to them and showed them a Caius album or something, and said, "This is kind of what we want to do. We want to have a little bit more of a motor attitude," and you definitely hear it. Really, really good stuff. What was the one? Scorpionica, the opening track. One of their best songs, one of my favorite ones that they've done. What is it? You'll Never Get to the Moon in that. It's probably the most psychedelic song they have on here. So here are the guys.
A great title.
Big photo. But yeah, man, it's just really good, just jammy, feel good stuff, man. Like they can get really fast, they can do like the high and fire thing if they wanted to. But I figure these guys get more in the bluesier side of things with the sound, if you like that kind of thing. And again, I like it because it still has the very heaviness to it with the bluesy elements, with the sort of with the kind of Motorhead kind of attitude kind of thrown in there. Alco Fuel, I mean, and the Big Black, which is the closing track, it's probably the sludgiest song they have on here. It's probably the heaviest track too, which it's a good way to kind of end the album. But I had to bring up Orange Goblin. But I'll do one more here just because Aaron brought up, was it Nucleon?
Yeah.
And that's one of those like projects that came out in the 90s, right? When did that? Was it 98?
Yeah. That's what it says when it was recorded. I don't know when the thing actually came out, but it was right in that era. And that's, as far as I know, the only thing they did.
And people weren't looking for that kind of stuff either. It wasn't like a thing unless you were already heavily into that genre at the time. I mean, me as a teenager in the 90s, I was getting into all this other stuff. I didn't have like the room to also allow space to explore that other side of things until later on.
And there wasn't much of that shit either. There's like Fu Manchu and there's Caius,
When you get
later, I guess you got early Electric Wizard and Orange Goblin, but it's pretty slim pickings. Another
one here, Spaceman 3.
Oh yeah,
Peter Kemper. Like this is the performance album. This is a live version of this too. There's a compilation, Spacemen or Go. Which is this. I think they recorded this in Europe. This was a live album, Revolution, which is like an EP of theirs. So these guys got together in the 90s, And after the Spaceman 3 thing, they kind of took a break, and they did the Spectrum project. So when you brought up the Nuclei, it kind of reminded me of that. You know, it's kind of these guys doing this kind of offshoot kind of thing in the 90s with this kind of space rock kind of sound. This one right here is a little more droney, a little more, there's a lot of ambient moments, but it still has the kind of the Spaceman 3 kind of orientation to it, just with a more of the 90s kind of production kind of thrown on top of it. So if you're already like heavily into this, invested in this kind of stuff, and you haven't checked out Spectrum, it's the same guys, you know what I mean? Just getting into the 90s, with that project. But Pete Kemper, like, you know, even though he's English, he moved to Portugal. He lost his accent completely. You watch him in interviews lately. He's got a bit of this sort of Spanish accent to Portuguese thing going on. It's really weird. But yeah.
How many more rounds are we doing? Are we doing a couple, or are we?
Yeah. How are you guys in the stack? Like, you know, I figure out how much longer we can go. I still got a few things, but we could stop at any time.
Yeah, the stack is large. Whenever you guys want to be done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If there's
I'm
going to be at least one more round, huh?
Where's Marty feeling into all this?
Yeah, I guess we call this a Sabbatharium Hour, so our bad.
For hours.
Whatever. That's all good.
It's all good, man. No, whatever you got, man. Whatever you want to show. I'm good at mine.
I have more to show, but there are a couple that I definitely want to show. So one of them is this one, actually, sort of piggybacking off the font on that last record, actually, which is that fucking classic 70s font.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk about the mighty Rimstyrelsen. First of all, I saw the cover and I had to have it. Okay. I mean, come on. Right. Another Swedish band, another Commune 2 band. Absolutely fantastic, man. Just like fucking, like everything you want in space rock, man. Like weird, spacey, good riffs, you know, a little jammy. Awesome band across the board, man. I fucking you can't argue with this cover, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm a sucker for that style of artwork too. Like, you know, that's what makes me look at it and pick it up, man. It's just you know, it's someone that's actually an album I'll pull that has a similar kind of style, which is I think you guys might like. But I'll do the next go round.
100%. And then the other one for this go around too, sort of staying on the theme here. We're going to show an old one that we're going to show Guru UFO. This is their first record.
Yeah.
What a classic cover, right? Now check this out on the inside. This is another early Ore record. This isn't an original because the originals wouldn't have barcodes on them, even though that one's a sticker. But this is a great band, really heavy, mostly instrumental. They have some of that sort of jammy quality of like an Asherah Temple or something like that, but they're more sort of focused on the riffs. And they sort of have that meat in there, and they never go so far out into space that they sort of lose that like kind of heavy tone that they have going on. 3-piece band. And they made a bunch of records. The first 3 are all untouchable. A little bit corny, actually. The second one's called Hinten, which means back in German. It has like someone's ass on the cover. And the third one is called Kangaroo. But it's called like Kanguru because that's how it's spelled in German, like guru, Kanguru, ha ha ha. But those 3 are all still just like solid and heavy and like rocking. Starting with the third one, there's like it's about half great, but then they have like this weird like rock and roll medley where they're doing like fucking like, you know, Come On Everybody and shit like that in there that I kind of don't need from them. And they kind of lost their way a little bit starting with that 4th record. But you won't go wrong with UFO. If you like this kind of music, man, fucking UFO is right up your
The way they started out, like it's just, you know, with longer songs, they had more of the jammy kind of stuff, more like the structure was not as conventional. Like it reminds me when some bands start out like that, especially back in the 60s, 70s. Like that first Journey album was kind of like that. It's like the cover literally has them like they're in space. Like,
yeah,
like it's all jammy long. And before they punched up the sound and really made things more concise, and you know, they went really commercial right after that. But that first album is nothing like their other albums.
Right. For those first 3 albums are kind of nothing like their other albums.
Yeah. And that Steve Perry guy came in and ruined everything.
Yeah. Dude, I wish I liked those early Journey albums more for just that reason, but I just think they're kind of boring. Honestly, too, I'm not a Journey fan, never have been. My favorite Journey record is probably Infinity.
Okay.
like with Wheel in the Sky, and like
Oh
I lived
yeah.
in San Francisco for a long time. Right when I moved to the East Bay, I'd listen to Lights and be like, you know, I want to be there in my city. You know,
Yeah, Journey gets the tears going. Still low hanging fruit for me, and bands that just need to be mentioned practically every stream that we do this. And this band, of course, has already been mentioned a couple times, but come on, Caius.
yeah, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, we've already mentioned Caius a couple times as like a reference point for bands because they are the reference point for most of this stuff. I mean, to me, when you're talking about all this stuff, it goes Black Sabbath reference point A, maybe Hawkwind reference point B, and then this is the other reference point. Caius, welcome to Sky Valley. And actually, I was not really going to pull a Caius album, but then I got to thinking about Space Cadet, and I want to just talk about the acoustic song Space Cadet for a second, because that is such a cool, different kind of Caius track that really is just so relaxed and zoned out, but repetitive in just the right way. So I think Space Cadet is one of their highlights. It kind of took me a little bit to warm up to as a track because it feels so different. Like on this album, you're listening to songs like Gardenia.
You ever find your way in Philly? I got to take you to Sky Valley Records. Thank you,
dude. Please, I'm sold. I need to go see the Welcome to Sky Valley sign. That seems like a pilgrimage worthy of going on. But I mean, so many great tracks to mention. Like all-time favorite songs like Demon Cleaner and Whitewater are on this album, but Space Cadet does not get as mentioned as often, but perfectly, I mean, it was perfect representation for tonight. So I had to mention that. Then one of my all-time favorite bands, and I mean like all-time favorite acts from Sweden. And this is an interesting thing, right? Somehow desert rock and like the love of all things stoner ends up being a big Swedish export as well.
100%.
I guess the ice, the frozen tundra, I don't know how it happens, but they somehow channel the same energy as California. Someone needs to explain that to me. But from there we got Dozer, and I picked a couple of their albums because
great band.
Absolutely phenomenal band. As I said, one of my all-time favorites. You
just showed the Dozer in a recent video you did. Was it for the contest?
Yeah, it was my favorite album of 2023. The last one, Drifting in the Endless Void. Title.
I thought about pulling a Dozer album too.
Huh?
I thought about pulling a Dozer album too.
See, that's why I'm here to pick up the ones you guys didn't pull. I guess.
Well, it sounds shitty when you say that.
Oh, sorry. But someone's got to talk about Dozer, I think. And their debut, man, In the Tail of a Comet, absolutely fits this topic right here.
100%.
Light Years Ahead is probably my favorite track on this album. But then you got other songs like Riding the Machine, Captain Spaceheart, High Roller. So great. And then I just got to mention the closing song on Through the Eyes of Heathens. Big Sky Theory, probably one of the best songs I've ever heard, period. So, and once again, the title is kind of self-explanatory.
Cool. Yeah, there's some really cool mentions in the chat I wanted to bring up. Way back, I think it was Human Falafel brought up Space Boy. That's one nobody talks about. It came out in the 90s. And I was really weirded out by that one because it was kind of like very avant-garde, sludgy 90s kind of Melvins with doing a little tidbits of bordering death metal, but pull back with some more experimental stuff. It's very, very weird. And then somebody brought up Nebula, of course. I don't know if anybody had that to pull, but that one is obviously an offshoot of Fu Manchu, and that's and their debut, man, like that right there. It's kind of like if you like Fu Manchu, but you wanted a little more slow down, more fuzz, more of the cosmic elements. That's Eddie Glass. These guys kind of came in and kind of took over with that. And I almost pulled some Nectar. There was a Journey to the Center of the Eye was the one, but I was actually going to pull I think the one before, Tapping the Ocean, but I didn't feel like there wasn't enough of it of the spaciness with compared to my other polls to make it if that was worthwhile to show. But I thought at least it was worth a mention. Another one, Human Falafel, man. You're okay. I got to do this. He's bringing up some good shit. So there was a label called Man's Ruins Records, this is one of the ones that they had back in the day. It's this band called Mass.
I don't know.
And it has these sort of little star systems and all this stuff, which kind of blows my mind because these guys at these space, what do we call it, observatories and stuff, can look at something like this, see a blink, and they discover a whole new planet. And they can get a lot of information out of that. Like, this is made of the composites of this, has this much gas, this is about this big. Like, how the fuck do you get all that information from like one photo?
Totally.
And it's amazing.
That's mystifying, dude.
But this was a band from Germany, which is it's a weird one because this is like, I guess, the front and this is the back, but the back is actually front. Really, 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 really weird setup. They're not really conventional in that sense, anyway. But these guys were part of a band called No No Yes No, and they had a little bit of industrial in them, but industrial sludge. And you know how weird Germans can be. So there's an offshoot. These guys, for Mass, it was the self-titled, another one called In the Absence Of. Really good stuff, man. Like, this is like very sludgy, but they're not afraid to go in there and take over the knobs and add some really like electronic, some spaciness to the stuff kind of along with it. Very, very entertaining, man. It's got a lot of the stuff that you also hear. It's like alternative metal with some sludge kind of thrown in the mix. And because this came out in 2000, it's all an amalgamation of the styles you were listening to in the 90s from a lot of the bands. I hear even a little bit of Helmet, a little bit of some of the stuff you hear from like a lot of the bands that were doing this kind of thing with alternative metal. But they could do the catchy and all that stuff in there. I like putting in. I think my favorite track here is probably Mistake, track 8. But another one I feel like it's kind of obscure now because I don't think it's had a reissue at any point. The band's no longer active. But Man's Ruins record put out some gems. I think this was one of them. My other pull, going on your like the artwork and the stuff that kind of pulls you in. So I think we're gonna do a sound sample tonight. So Marty's on board. He hasn't fallen asleep yet. But it's a band from Brazil. I don't know. Did we bring up anything from South America yet?
Dude. That's why I was asking about how many rounds, because we can't finish without showing some of this Argentine shit.
Argentina's another one. That's a huge one.
Argentina's a huge one for me.
But this one here's from Brazil. It's a G-Pack. It's a band called Heresy. I don't even know if they're still active. They haven't put out anything in a while. So this is a 2016, I forget, something like that. It's about 10 years old, this album, at least. It's called Heresy. And so here's a thumbnail of the actual cover, so you can see how cool it is, because you can't really see it too well here. So if you, I'm gonna do the show the thumbnail like magic button here if it'll show up. On no thumb. Damn it. Yeah, okay. I forgot to pull it. So anyway, if you can see it here, it's just this astronaut with this kind of face melted in. Really cool cover, but we'll do a sound clip. You guys kind of give me an idea of what it's like. So I'll let you take it away, Marty.
It's just what there is for us. Nothing different inside.
Real good kick-ass riffs. It's got that nice harshness of the vocals. It got a really good bite to it. Really nice tempo, but very satisfying listen. They put out a single, I think, back in 2022, and then it's kind of just been crickets since then. So, but I'm hoping for another full length because these guys are really good. So Heresy out of Brazil. And I didn't think anybody was going to pull this one at all because nobody ever really mentions it.
They're new to me.
But yeah, I'll let you. We'll do the next rotation.
All right. All right, there are 3 that I have to show before we hang it up. So I'm gonna go for these, and then after that, we can just sort of keep going and like play it loose, okay?
All good.
But I've got to hype Taxi Caveman. I kind of generally have a little bit of a problem with like really goofy band names like there's a Taxi Caveman, yup. But this record is so good. It's like really heavy and really aggressive, and like there's some yelling vocals where it's like you're believing it, but it's also like super cosmic, and it sounds like he's like way out in space, like yelling. You know what I mean? It's a fantastic record. These guys are Polish, on a Polish label. Actually, speaking of labels, Interstellar Smoke. I've gotten a lot of bangers off that fucking label too, man. And they actually have a deal where like, at least I haven't checked in a while, okay, but last time I ordered from them, you could get 3 records shipped from Poland for $14, which is a pretty good deal for overseas shipping. I mean, I think priority mail costs that much domestically now, so it wasn't that hard to get directly from them. So anyway, though, fucking Taxi Caveman, awesome record.
That gives me Heavy Metal the movie vibes. Just
yeah, I mean, and probably deliberately, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, but frankly, the music is better than most of it was on that fucking Heavy Metal soundtrack, if I'm honest.
It wasn't mostly metal. It was like Don Felder was on it. What Nazareth was on it. There was a few of these guys, but like,
like Evo, Blue Oyster Cult.
Hey, the Blue Oyster Cult song. That
I'm
one
not gonna shit on them.
There we go. Good.
All right.
Also, Sammy Hagar.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. And like rigs, you know. All right, I'm gonna fuck with the camera now and show this Geobia record, which to me sounds like, I mean, again, it's like a Ganesh on the cover. I'm like, but they're great. It's Giobia, Geobia, and they're Italian. There's their fucking fantastic logo. And this record, I like them generally. They have a few really good records, but this is the one that I turned on them with. This one sounds to me like an unlabeled tape that you found in your cool uncle's attic. You're like, I wonder what the fuck this sounds like. This is what it sounds like.
Oh man.
It's like really like psychedelic, really spacey, really sort of out there, but really tuneful and listenable too. You know what I mean? It's not really jammy, but it kind of feels jammy, you know? Great record.
You might have to spell that one out because I was not deciphering anything.
Like really long tracks.
Oh God, how many tracks are on this thing? No, it's 8 tracks on here. And this is a heavy psych one, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. But yeah, Gio with an umlaut, BIA. You see
easier to spell than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's funny. There's a logo too, but that's even less readable. Here, there you go. You can see on the spine. If I can get the camera to pick it up. There we go. Awesome record. And then, like I said, I can't not show a South American record.
Yeah, do it.
So I have a couple other ones here too, depending on how many more rounds we have. But I have to show Corsario Negro by Los Natas. First of all, I mean, come on.
I've never heard of that. That looks awesome.
100%.
I would have remembered that cover.
It's like a really weird. It's like out there. It's like I almost want to call it prog doom, but it's not really prog. What it has in common with prog is the way it sort of ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? It sort of does these sort of it just goes to these different places, but sort of reins itself back in and sort of keeps it consistent like throughout, as far as like sort of the heaviness, but also the sort of psychedelic aspect of it that I really love. You know. Yeah, they have several records, and I went out and sought out every one that I could. And like a lot of these records in Argentina actually have this guy Sergio Ch, I guess, on them. And I always want to say there are all these great records coming out of Argentina, and there are, but like I almost kind of wonder if it's like this one guy is sort of driving like all these different bands and shit. So because there'll be more to come if we do this. But yeah, don't snooze on fucking Los Natas from Argentina. I know the same guy was behind Ararat, which was one of the first records that I got when I was getting into the shit, where I was like, holy fuck, this is amazing. I didn't pull that one out tonight, but Ararat's another great one. So, all right, there we go. I jammed in.
I'll try to do the same. First, some service to the comments stuff that I already had in the collection. We just talked about, or already had pulled Nebula to the center.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely had to talk about this one. Real quick, the title track, absolutely perfect opening, and great song. And then this album is like, it's a perfect balance between kind of a punky energy, but then also very laid back and more psychedelic. You get tracks like Fields of Psilocybin and You Mean Nothing and stuff like that. That's just very slow. But there's also tracks like Come Down and, What You're Looking For that are very energetic and almost that Fu Manchu punky kind of sound. But yeah, had to choose something in that Fu Manchu Nebula vein. So To the Center, I think, is my favorite album that I've heard from this band so far. And then this is for James, Mr. Warrior in the chat. Hum doesn't really actually fit in this topic, but You'd Prefer an Astronaut, an absolute favorite album of mine. Fits with the, not necessarily the genre, but the cosmic theme.
I remember seeing it on the record store back in the day, and I thought it was like a Weezer album.
I feel like someone told me.
And
that.
I don't blame
I
you.
really haven't heard it. What's that one called again? I missed it. Sorry.
You'd Prefer an Astronaut by Hum. Like, these guys, they're kind of tough to describe, honestly. They're like a mixture of like 90s alternative and trip hop, but like very heavy down-tuned guitars. Like, the riffs on here are, Helmet in style, I would say, but like lyrically, and there's tracks that feel very like Sonic Youth, or more just like the 90s Third Eye Blind.
The noise thing was big in the 90s.
Yeah,
especially if people like Steve Albini was touching your stuff, like you could have noise.
You know what? I need to be mentioning Smashing Pumpkins. Actually, I'm thinking like that Siamese Dream album. I think that kind of guitar tone, like that Mayonnaise kind of guitar, except maybe even more fully realized. And tracks like Little Dipper and Stars in the Pod. Highly recommend checking this album out.
I don't care what anybody says, man. That opening to Cherub Rock, it still fucking rules, man. Like,
oh, dude, yeah, Cherub Rock is amazing. It's awesome. And then another, like right there with Hawkwind, needs to be mentioned real quick. Captain Beyond, one of those proto bands that like they kind of bridge the gap between like the 70s prog and to hard rock and just a little bit of everything in between.
Myopic Void, that one, it's probably my favorite one, man. That's probably the most psychedelic now.
This is the only one I have from them, but to me it's worth it. Like, I love the ending couple tracks right here, how it closes out with I Can't Feel Nothing, As the Moon Speaks, and then that full gambit of songs, but like a more reined in, like kind of prog album that is definitely steeped in like astral and cosmic forces. Captain Beyond.
That's the other version of the cover, right? Because the vinyl I got has like the little 3D thing, kind of whatever, and that wasn't like a common thing at the time. Like even though back in the 70s, like the whole gimmicky treatment thing with covers was a huge thing. Everything had like a die cut to it or some crazy fold out. And Captain Beyond went with the 3D hologram thing.
Yeah. That's the most rockin' Captain Beyond, though. And I sort of want to caveat for people in the chat who might be checking them out, because like the next two records weren't necessarily bad, but that's really the one to check out if you want to like get the full impression. You know what I mean?
I would agree.
With the second one, you might be going, this isn't heavy. What the fuck, And yeah, be ready for it. Second one's good too, but it's not that one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Up already. All right. Here's one. Little obscure. I don't know like how well people know this band at all, and this is the least cosmic thing, probably as far as visuals go, but it's called Alpha Centauri. Like it's an EP. The band from Charlottesville, called Corsair. And they play kind of this retro heavy rock. They do have some metal leanings to the stuff, but it's almost like that proto metal, that you were kind of used to in the late 70s, early 80s. and just done in a more modern kind of way. And I think this was from 2010, and besides all the obvious space things with the names and song titles, you look at this, you're thinking of some kind of Japanese, maybe a new age thing or something, or whatever. Like, it just does not have that look, but looks can be deceiving, as we know. There's actually 2 songs on here which they kind of play an homage. The one is Last Night on Earth, which is kind of their homage to Space Oddity. It even sounds like Space Oddity. Like, the dude even sounds like Bowie. But I feel, but they did a very tasteful treatment. The guitars on this thing kicks ass. I forget her name, but she has a very, very interesting style. You can tell she listened to a lot of the like the Thin Lizzies and all that stuff that was going on in the 70s. And the other one is it's really small type, so it's hard to read. But the track after that, it's like another homage, but it's more to Hawkwind. But I do have a sound sample for Last Night on Earth, and you'll hear what I mean. It's got the Bowie overtones in there, but it's Space Oddity, kind of done in her own way. So
Cold realization, I'm never coming back, and it's my last night on Earth.
Oh yeah. I don't know how you feel about Space Oddity. That's something you put in all the time or whatever, but it's cool that there's like a more modern band still kind of doing that take. But really cool EP. I can check out the other stuff if you see it around. But Shadow Kingdoms looks like they reissued some of their stuff. They're an independent band. They're not signed. So the stuff they were putting out initially was all self-released. So somebody noticed. So that's cool. Another one here. Yeah, let's do this. This is a fun one. And I wasn't sure if I should pull this because this is classified more like surf rock, but there's so much spaciness to the surf rock elements on here. They dial up the knobs. There's a lot of electro, just gimmickry and things going on. And so it has a Captain Kirk feel to it. And I don't know if you guys were going to bring up this band at all tonight, because they do have a lot of the psychedelic elements. It's a very early recording of their stuff when they first started out, before they even released their first album. Yeah, King Gizzard, of course. Teenage Gizzard. And their little mascot, it just reminds me of Gorn. That's why we pulled the Star Trek thing earlier, just to kind of, because when you look at the back, it's even more obvious.
That's always so awesome.
The whole thing is cool. It's like they did this interesting. We were talking about gimmick covers. Like King Gizzard does a lot of really cool stuff with their album cover treatments and stuff. They do a lot of really cool things. Like we got this sort of.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here with all the fucking foils. They didn't have to do the foils, but they went all the way with this. Like Jesus, man. Like they wouldn't have done this when they started out. So obviously in reissue treatments. And then when you look at the actual like vinyl, it's got all this like spaciness, kind of like fire kind of thing going on here, which is pretty cool. So it definitely has the surf rock thing going on mixed with space. So I thought it was definitely worth a mention. And it's a modern band. Like if you talk about modern bands doing a psychedelic thing, right? It's like King Gizzard is going to be one of those names that get brought up. It's like, yeah, you got to check these guys out. It's like, but like the harder question is, where do you start? It's like, because they try all these different styles and in areas. They experiment quite a bit with all these different kind of sounds, which in itself is kind of the appeal. You kind of throw all their stuff in a hat. You don't know what you're going to get, from album to album.
It's a little bit, I mean, it's not a turn off, but it's definitely somewhat kept me from trying to get into them just because of how varied and, so many different approaches and stuff. And like,
in fact, the Rat's Nest, if you're coming from a metal side, that's probably the one to check out. I
hear that, but then it's like, I don't know if I want to just approach it from the metal side if it's just a random one-off, like it's they've been a tough band for me to
it's hard to really like, because if you want consistency from album to album, this is not the band for that. Like, but you're always going to get something psychedelic from them, because I feel like that's where they excel best, when they do that layering, with whatever style they choose.
Totally. I only have a couple King Gizzard records because I could turn that into a Sun Ra thing, and I don't want to.
The slope is steep and slippery.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it, because I'm sitting here anyway. Let's see if I can show this effectively. But that's my Sun Ra section.
Oh man.
So I don't want to have a King Gizzard section like that too.
Sunra was one that I enjoyed for a while because I knew some people in my circle who were heavily into his stuff, and I'm like, man, it's just like, where do you even begin? It's just like
we can have that conversation.
all right, yeah, we can do that.
Shit, now my light's all fucked up. That's what I get from messing around with it. All right, well, whatever. So what are we gonna show next? Well, shit. Let's show another South American one. Let's show a couple more South American ones. All right, so here's another one with that same fucking guy, but Soldati.
These covers, I got to tell you, the covers are so cool.
Yeah, totally, man. Doom Nacional. Great record. Very doomy, very heavy. Has enough of the space thing going on that it qualifies, but this one's more like sort of straight up rockin' and sort of just like that sort of hard rock intensity, whereas Los Natas is a little more sort of ethereal, makes it sound way lighter than it is, because that record's pretty heavy too. But this is more like a straight rock thing. Like if you're looking to transition to that, this might be a step on the way to Los Natas. Anyway, fantastic. Only a couple records as far as I know, but there's Mr. Sergio Ch again. So if you're watching, Sergio, you have a big fan in Charleston, South Carolina. Let me tell you.
Hope he's watching.
We're looking for sponsorships, Sergio.
Yeah. I have a feeling he doesn't have the budget for that. And then you can't talk about South American stuff without mentioning Fulano.
Oh yeah.
And this isn't as much sort of cosmic and spacey as much as it is just like good stoner doom shit.
That label, was it Regimental or something like that?
Yeah, this is this pressing is a Helter Skelter. I don't know anything by them or anything about them, I should say.
I picked up a few of them when Nuclear War now had their stuff in stock, because I know they were all imports. I don't know if they still are at one point, but for a while they were just only imports.
Yeah. This one, it actually says at the top there, can you see it says music for doomers.
A theologian pool I recognize. I'm proud of myself.
Right on. Yeah, it's a great record too. You gotta love how they sort of like how cheesy it is. Like if you look closely, it's like they just took some old photo and then like put a skull and some wings on. And it's just some old photo of a woman on a motorcycle. Classic shit, man. Fucking so heavy. Like this is the kind of shit that got me interested in this style of music generally. Like, and from here I found that the spacey shit sort of appealed to me, and I sort of gravitated in that direction somewhat. But this is like the foundation, That's
a good one. I got into them with the one with the with the casket with the headphones on. Don't remember the name of the album, but that's where I got into those guys. I got that one a little later. But
right on.
Good band.
It's awesome.
Shout out to Argentina.
Yeah. And good luck in the cup, right? I don't know if they're actually in it or not, but let's do some space concept albums real quick. One of them is, an album that I won't stop talking about on Heavy Metallurgy, Cult of Luna, Julia Christmas, Mariner. This is one of my all-time favorite albums, period. Like, this is the top, 15, 20, 10, who knows, kind of thing. This is like post-metal, of course, so I'm going to shoehorn post-metal into this topic tonight and, add it to the stoner and the sludge and stuff. But this one is special because it takes the Cult of Luna established sound and it pairs it with this dynamic and very aggressive female vocal presence from Julie Christmas, which it adds such a nice touch to it. Like, she goes from like this very almost childish kind of clean singing to an absolutely banshee howl of a scream, like at a drop of a dime, and it's totally, it gives me goosebumps just hearing that transition and hearing how they incorporate her into this music and into their post-metal landscapes. But then, of course, to tie this into space, like this has that feeling of a more admirable and hopeful view of like space travel. Like the opening track is a greater call. Like they're trying to venture into space for the good of all mankind, kind of like an interstellar kind of thing. Like we're trying to, push humanity into the future for the betterment of all. And then, of course, we hit snags and roadblocks, and everything kind of just falls apart because this album gets a lot darker from that opening track. Like the opening song is a bit, it does have that triumphant feel to a certain extent, but then it immediately shifts, and we get like more aggressive tracks like The Wreck of SS Neil, which really sees Julie just belt her lungs out, and it's an absolutely perfect song. And then the closer, the final track, Cygnus, is a personal highlight, just period. If you're gonna listen to one song off this album, definitely check that out because it builds like no other. It's about 8 to 9 minutes of just very phenomenal, top-notch post-metal mixed with maybe a bit of like this post-hardcore, post-punk kind of vibe, and then it gets to this like building section. Like the final 6 minutes of that track just makes the whole album worth it. And the vocals are layered, the atmosphere is layered. It just keeps building, and absolutely a top.
It's a
top-notch
significant
moment
effort to make the collapse work because that was always risky, right? Especially when you have conflicting styles. But the fact that they make it work,
and they're layering so much stuff on that like final song and those final moments. Like it might not work, as you said, Rick, because it's just so loud and there's so much going on, but somehow the layering is perfect. So yeah, had to mention this. Just
people do it. We're in the world now where Melvins can do Napalm Death.
we're in the era of collaborations.
That one right there, like when you mentioned Marner, like it reminds me of. You remember that movie The Abyss came out like, back in it to me like it's in the sea, but to me it's like a space movie. It feels like a space movie.
Wait, isn't it alien life in the sea though? Isn't it still an alien?
They kind of kept some things ambiguous, you know what I mean? Like kind of in the air. Like, but I watched it when I was really young, so a lot of it went over my head. You know what I mean? But I remember like thinking, like, man, why does it feel like a space movie, even though it's.
I always thought of it as a space movie, kind of. Speaking of the sea and something like that, you guys like that Michael Crichton book, The Sphere? That stuff is great, and that's the movie, The Sphere. I actually really enjoy too. So
I can't say I've read it or seen the movie.
Oh.
Shame on me, man.
Come on, Michael Crichton, guys. One more concept album, which is also a collaboration. I just realized newer bands, Resin and Venom Sabithi. Silent Future. Highly recommend this. Absolutely recommend this. Blues Funeral is the label. So one of those labels that just specializes in this kind of music. Just very atmospheric. Like it's stoner doom, but not quite metal at the same time. Like they're definitely spaced out and psychedelic, but the concept here is what wins me over. It makes me think of this movie. It was a Jake Gyllenhaal feature from 2017 called Life. Have you guys seen that one? At least
it's not the one that took forever to make. Like I think, there was something about it where like they were filming the child as it was growing up. Like it took some years to put together. It was some weird.
No, that's definitely not that. This is in space. They find an alien. It adapts and kills everyone.
Oh, I was way off.
Individually, one at a time. But that's basically the theme of this album. There's like these space travelers waking from cryogenic sleep. They find something, and then somehow it systematically kills everybody. And it ends very heavy and very somber, and like the music does a perfect job of encapsulating that feel. But definitely check out Resin as well as a band, because they're kind of one of those up and comers in the stoner like kind of psych scene, which I think are doing great things. And they have a new album coming out next month, I want to say. So Resin,
Really? Yeah.
but also this collaboration too,
They're really good live.
Silent Future. Yeah.
Check them
So-
out live. Anybody who hasn't seen Resin live, man. Like I caught them with last I was with King Buffalo, another really good band, you know. But
They might be in the stack over here.
oh, oh, my turn. All right. You know what? Let's do a couple here with yeah, some female vocalists. We didn't bring this up too much, but some of my favorites. This right here was another gift from a friend and Philadelphia band, and of course Ruby the Hatchet. Right here, it's a nice Adam Burke artwork.
That's a great cover. Holy shit.
I feel like you'd really dig this, Aaron. Like it's Valley of Snake is still probably my favorite, but this is a really good one. The opening track, which obviously the album title, Planetary Space Child, it kind of have this very kind of Jess and the Ancient Ones, you know, a little bit of the kind of bit of acid laden, but very psychedelic. She's got this very hypnotic kind of voice kind of going on, but we're really acid laden riffs. It's got the Sabbathisms in there, but it's all kind of drawn out and really mesmerizing at the same time. They got a really good sound in them. I think I pulled a sound clip or something, so Marty has it. Yeah, so if that's something that appeals to you, check out their video for Planetary Space Child. It's kind of like it's like Battlestar Galactica, but with a lower budget, but intentionally like very self-aware of it.
I can hang with that.
I don't know what's more terrifying, like having your planet sucked by a black hole or being used as like a bowling ball. You know, like the way it is here. It's got they clearly taking out of tropes. Like, you know, I see a little bit of Monster Magnet in this kind of. This is the kind of thing they would do. Which is cool. Really good. I love the cosmic elements on this. You know, I mean, all the albums kind of just have that anyway. I hear just a little more overt about it, but yeah, really cool band. I think purple is a really good spacey color. So the whole thing is just really good aesthetically and musically. Just a really good package overall. I love when they put attention to the back too, and not just treat it like it's like an afterthought. Also, this was before Adam Burke was even like a household name in cover arts, you know, like he is now. The other one here, it's a band from Wales, and so they like to spell all their stuff in that Welsh language, as it is here. So that is the name. Anybody knows Welsh? Yeah, so a lot of it can be pretty hard to identify. All you need to know is they really focus on the psychedelic side. It's very trancey and very hypnotic. It's kind of like if you like Ruby the Hatchet, you might like this, but I feel like these guys have another layer of production. There's a little more elements going on, stuff going on with their sound. They're a little more intricate. I love the
Rick,
whole.
That's one of those where it's the name of the band is what makes it. What's the name of the band?
Like, I gotta check this out. Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard.
Yes. 4 great words strung together for no reason besides that they're great.
Perfect name.
I love it.
Like, it's just great. I think I pulled a sample for this too. So if you'll
Dude, it warms my heart too that you picked the song called "The Spaceships of Ezekiel."
yeah, that is the
That is so up my alley on so many different levels.
second track. The music video is awesome. I wanted Marty to pull it, but he's like, yeah, the copyright and all that stuff. I was like, damn it, it's just so awesome. They go all the way, man. Like they do like the whole elaborate like costume, like the whole like if you like Sun Ra and what they do with their all the shenanigans, like they do this stuff live too, which is really cool. So yeah, check them out. Like Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard, like, you know, all their stuff. It just has this thing going on. I just like this one because obviously it's more overt with the cosmic stuff. But just if you like that band, another band reminds me of if you know Frail, Frayle. They kind of have a little bit of that element to them, but I just feel like these guys have a little more psychedelic and more spaciness to their stuff, and a little more interesting to me anyway. But definitely really cool. So yeah, I don't know how many Welsh bands we're pulling tonight, but this is one of them. Probably the only one.
I can't name a lot of Welsh bands, man. I mean, Budgie.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I thought I didn't pull it. I did pull it. Damn it.
Yeah, look at that.
Hey, you already talked about it.
To the center. Oh, we lost Aaron.
Oh.
Well, there
That's
were.
okay.
Now we
That's
know
a
how
little
it's
lost.
going.
All right. That's funny. All right. Let's see. What do I want to show here? I can't quit the Swedish bands, man. Von Pagel.
I love it already, man. That astronaut, like the whole package. Just yeah, that's calling to me.
Another Swedish one. These guys actually just have bass, keyboard, and drums too. So you know it's like this fucking psychedelic shit, the synthy shit all over the place. 4 tracks, which is perfect, and a fucking astronaut on the cover, man. Yeah, this is the whole package. Even though there's no guitar on it, it's a really great record. It's one that I tend to overlook too, and I'm geeking out over like Yuri Gagarin and Rimstirelsen. I tend to forget about this one, but this one really belongs right in there too because it's just fucking trippy and spacey and awesome and just fucking scratches the itch, you know.
That's cool. Who put that out?
There's another one on that same Swedish label, man. Big K2 right there. They just bring it with the covers, man.
Yeah.
Not all their releases are great. I feel like I have to say that because I've been hyping them so hard tonight. But there are a couple others where I got the record and I was like, you know. But yeah, but they put out some real bangers.
Unless they change members or something. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just there was a certain period where they had a core group of members where they had their flow, and then somebody took off and they brought another guy in. It just wasn't the same, you know.
Yeah,
it tends to happen a lot.
And then like, I've got to hype this one a little bit just because I love the band name so much. Fucking Gas Giant.
Oh yeah, amazing job.
Yeah, these guys are Danish, if I'm not mistaken. And this record, it's psychedelic. It's really not as heavy, and it's not as like out there as most of the shit too that we've been talking about. Like, there's some just like acoustic parts in this, and that sort of thing. But it's still a really cool record, man. It's a fun listen. It's not the greatest one I've shown tonight, but it's the only one called Gas Giant. So I just couldn't fucking resist, you know.
If you ever geek out on space, you're going to hear that term thrown quite a lot. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
It's a perfect band name. Like, I'm glad someone took that as a band name because it's
totally
sitting there waiting for it.
Yeah, and it was the right kind of band too. You know what I mean?
There's more to Gas Giant than just Taco Bell people. Like, there's
I love my rap, but if some rap act had called themselves Gas Giant, it'd be a little bit of a bummer.
Trying to imagine that now.
I got Saturn behind me. There's a Gas Giant right here.
Honestly, Aaron, I admire the breadth of your musical range because I would never expect you to get a rap fan, then also a like space rock, stoner rock, you know, as a rock fan at the same time. It's
I was trying really hard to come up with a hip hop record that I could come up here and sell as like a space record or space themed.
There's been no ICP mentions yet, and I'm kind of disappointed. I'm sorry.
You know, I know
you
like,
haven't even called it Juggalo.
Huh? I know like this much about ICP. I just think it's funny to call it. I actually started doing that at work. Was kind of where I came up with that. As I walk into the room and see my office guy be like, "Sup, Juggalo," you know, and I started doing it in the chat like later because it's fun to say. But at first he was like, "What the fuck," and then he started doing it too. So
it's a fun term. Yeah,
it's really fun to say. But yeah, but I've only heard like that one song about the fucking magnets.
Dude, how do they work, man? They're like a mystery.
I forgot to mention because I sent Marty a picture. Like because we talked about Monster Magnet earlier. Just to return back real quick, that was based off.
Also a mystery.
If anybody remember Whammo, it was a toy company, and they had a toy called the Monster Magnet. I don't know. Did I send you that image, Marty? I
I
don't know
didn't
if you
know that.
know it. It was a big red freaking U, and everything was like supposed to be super powerful. It's like that could be very dangerous in the hands of kids. It's one of those strong magnets that were too strong to just give to any 8-year-old, because there's just a lot of travesties they can do with that thing. When you could pull dents off cars with that,
I just got to say, there are one or two cool Keith records I could have pulled, but I felt like it would have been a little much of a reach overall, so I left them on the shelf.
Next time, I guess. Love the can art of this one. Saints and Sinners. This one immediately made me think of Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath kind of vibe.
That could taste like literal shit, and I would still buy it.
Yeah, it's good. I'm just saying that because of the can art.
That's a lot of the craft beer stay afloat, man. It's just like if they can't get you with the taste, they get you with the art, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They steal my money every time, unfortunately. I got a couple King bands. You already mentioned one, Rick, King Buffalo.
Oh,
a band that's really been making the rounds recently. Like they're been big within the past 10 years, so kind of a recent band.
Just recently, like in the past 3-4 years, suddenly they just started really blowing up.
Yeah,
they started touring more, getting their name out there.
I saw
for putting me onto them.
Yeah. Okay. So you know these guys too. They're
not as well as you, I'm sure, but yeah.
I avoided them for a little bit because they're not quite metal, right? There's I think there's a line where they're more on the jam rock or like the purely psychedelic side. And for a little bit, I was not checking them out for that reason, but I had a chance to see them live, and they're phenomenal in the live setting and absolutely land with just how heavy they actually are. And yeah, I mean, they sound very metal in that environment. And I think maybe the reason why on record they don't is just because how much they play with dynamics and how much they build. Like the song starts out like down here, and then at the very end we're like crescendoing. Like the final track on here, Cerberus, absolutely worth the full trip, and all the albums that I've heard from this band kind of very similar. Like the dynamics shift from being very quiet, very more like prog or psych oriented, to where it does get heavy and like almost down-tuned, down-picked kind of guitar riffs, and just very good, a guitar performance that really does try to reach for the heavens, and does wow you as it goes. So King Buffalo, I think definitely worth the hype and worth checking out if you're a fan of like psych rock or metal that does want to explore and get out there. Like definitely in that Elder kind of vein.
If I had to put money on it, you've mowed the lawn to that album. I know.
Oh,
I know.
Today. I was doing fucking yard work today to this thing and just looking up at the sky, running over my bushes, and not paying attention to what I was doing.
I don't think I've checked that one out actually. But the way you describe it, it sounds like the yard work kind of album. Like the purple works really well. That's just my favorite color for the cosmic stuff.
Yeah, this is my favorite album that they've put out that I've heard, at least. Shadows and Cerberus, the only 4 tracks in the track 3 and track 4, totally worth the price of admission. And then from King Buffalo, King Bastard. And
oh yeah,
come on, we're talking about album covers that fit tonight's theme. This is right up there with the one you were just showing, Aaron. We got the astronaut psychedelically screaming, and this album is all over the place. And I know Brian Arkham was here in the chat earlier. If he's still around, cheers, because he turned me on to this and sent me this album, and it is awesome. It is. I believe this is another concept album about just a ship getting lost in the void and everyone dying. Happy space conversations. And it goes from feeling like, once again, very laid back, psychedelic prog rock kind of, to blast beats and harsh vocals, and you're literally being crushed by the weight of space itself, and then back to calm and relaxing, like prog rock kind of stuff.
I almost have to make a mention that if the word bastard's anywhere on these albums, it's got to be good. Like it's just I've got to be disappointed.
Yeah,
the word bastard being on something not being good.
King Bastard, you only get so far, right? I mean, it's awesome. It's a concept album for sure. It's basically an instrumental album. I said there's extreme vocals on like 1 or 2 songs, but other than that, it's just a very laid back, more prog and psychedelic instrumental, kind of release. So yeah, King Bastard, and the name of the album is It Came from the Void.
Awesome. Yeah, Marty says something pretty scary, which is Mars is a one-way trip. Anyone that signs up for that mission isn't coming back. It's just like, and a lot of people may not say why, but when you do that, it's like screw what Matt Damon does in that movie. But what happens is your whole physiology changes. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that scared the crap out of me as a kid was, besides the General Zod thing on the moon, was when Arnold went out and his whole eyes was bulging out and stuff in Total Recall.
Yes. Oh, Total Recall is another great.
I'm like, man, it's just, but it's just the light gravity and all that stuff. Your bone changes, like the way you, like it's just the way your eyes perceive light and all that. It's just, you can't go back to Earth, man. You're just totally screwed up.
Radiation, yeah, you're just fucked.
And the sand is electrically charged, so like that, all that shit sticks to you. It's got to be annoying to go out every time. It's like, yeah, I got to go out for milk, and I come back and I just electrically charge shit everywhere. I mean, I got to dust all this stuff off. Anyway, I think I'm actually pretty close to the bottom of the stack. I don't know where you guys are at. So interestingly enough, but I got to bring up this band again. I brought them up on episode 1 or volume 1, should I say? But this is a different one, and it's just because it's just too cool, man. It's just got all this space stuff in there. Fun band, Filthy Flowers of Doom, but tons of them out of Italy. It's just that job right there, this whole thing with the flying saucer and the whole deal, is just the whole cosmic thing, and they just continue that theme on the back. Fun band, man. I love like the harsh vocals, but the whole thing, it's not very mean spirited. It's just so self-aware and amusing. It just takes the whole thing and just adds us humor to everything. So I'm just gonna take a moment and just give you an idea where these guys are at just by the song titles. There's 5 tracks, but Abath's Psychedelic Breakfast. I mean, that is a 99 weed balloons. Was it Girl Scout Cookie Monster? And Sailing the Seas of Buddha Cheese. I mean, and that right does not pull you in. But yeah, this was my introduction to the band, and I already knew this was I know Logan's a big fan of the Bongzilla split, like. But check them out. Heavy Psych has copies, so definitely one to get into. I know when I first found out about this band, again, their stuff was pretty difficult, but I think ever since they signed on to Heavy Psych, they were not one of those you got to pay ridiculous import prices to get their stuff. But I love tons, man. Like, and this is still one of my favorite ones. I just like the whole spacey presentation and whatnot with this, which is pretty cool. This one right here, pretty cool one. I think they're from Texas, and Brian Arkham. I don't know if he's still around, or did he sign like Irish goodbye again? Like he
I think he did, but he's still here in spirit. So cheers, Brian.
All right, Brian, if you're watching or on the read one, yeah, he sent me this Mothership.
Oh, great band.
Yeah, they I remember getting to them from the first one. It was on Bandcamp. I didn't have anything physical by them. But yeah, he sent this my way, which is the second one, 2. And just check this out. Check out this gatefold. That thing is I mean, I opened that up. I was, damn, Brian. How would you describe them, man? They got a very retro sound to them. There is some Thin Lizzy-isms to this stuff. I know you're not the hugest guy on Thin Lizzy, Aaron.
I really don't, man. I've tried so hard, but
they got a lot of other stuff in there too. It's
oh yeah,
heavy hard rock. I'd say they're metal adjacent, but they're not. You know what I mean? I guess they're more on that side. I guess it will fall under the proto stuff. But man, I mean, Celestial Prophet, really cool opener. Priestess of the Moon. You got a song called Shanghai Surprise. I mean, right there. That says by me. But if I were to say, hey, check this band out, and he send me a song, I should have sent Marty a sample and didn't. Damn, I forgot. But yeah, check out Hot Smoke and Heavy Blues. I mean, that's got some hooks, man. That will get you in. Yeah, but check out Mothership. They haven't put out anything in a while, so they should be due for another drop. I hope they do. Just keep them coming, man. No, actually, I think they do have another release after this. Yeah. So, did we talk about Ripple tonight? So this was put out by Ripple.
No, not yet. But Ripple, yeah, they put out a lot of good shit too.
Yeah,
Ripple's another one of those labels where I actually went to they had a bunch of markdown shit, that was a little damaged or something like that. When I was just starting to get into this shit, I'd be like, let me just grab these fucking 10 that are all cheap.
They tend to do that.
Go through and start learning some of this shit, you know.
It's like I can deal with a little bed corner or whatever, you know. If it'll get me $5-10 discount, shit. As long as the record's fine and playable, I'm good. I was about to put an order with Cosmic Peddler because they tend to do that too. Get some cheap stuff that way. But yeah.
All right, what are we doing? Are you at the bottom of the stack?
I was about to say, do you guys want to make this the last round?
I got one more. We'll do one more round. I got one more, and then
let's do it.
Okay, so this is the last round, or are we doing
final call?
All right, cool.
Last round, right?
All right. Yeah.
Then let me do two real quick here. Here Lies Man.
Oh yeah.
I've heard them described as psychedelic, Afro psych or something like that, which I can see, but these guys have, they're more psychedelic, you know what I mean? And it's kind of funky, is what it really is.
I'm gonna describe as funky Sabbath,
but with a lot of keys and a lot of really psychedelic organ sound that I really dig a lot. You know, in a way, that's what hooks me more than anything about this band is that organ sound. You know, because really primitive sounding, but really sort of spacey at the same time. Yeah, great band. I actually went out and got everything I could by these guys. This is a riding easy band too, so these records are cheap, you know. I just fucking first rate shit.
Wow, they were Easy Rider. They're riding easy. I'm like, are these the same label? I think they did switch names at some point. I don't know why.
I wonder, did they? I've only known them as Riding Easy, but I'm still new to this shit. But to sort of, I guess, to close it out, we're going to do one here that I almost didn't show because it's not really rock enough. But one of my all-time favorite middle of the night records, fucking Alpha Centauri by Tangerine Dream.
Oh yeah. I wasn't sure we were gonna pull Tangerine tonight, but I think they will qualify.
Yeah, and it's fucking weird sort of collage. You can see where they cut shit out with scissors to make it. It's kind of hilarious. But yeah, and this is another early German one. I got to show the Ohr label because I actually have it on this one. So. Yeah, this is what those look like. Or is ear in German. And when you see that on the label, you're like, hell yeah. You know what's funny is the metal thing has come up a few times, and I haven't shown anything tonight that I have filed in the metal section. I have this shit all separately with in sort of my catch-all section. Well, the German shit's in its own section. I have all my German shit broken out. But the other stuff I have mixed in with the punk and that sort of thing, because if I'm going to pull out something I don't know, this Earth Diver record here, shout out to Eric Bauer because he wanted me to show this one tonight. But this kind of fits in more with something like The Residents in my sort of head canon than it does with something like Manila Road. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else, but this shit is in what used to be my punk section and now is really mostly this kind of shit and weird sort of quasi-punk shit, you know what I mean? The weirder Devo stuff, The Residents and Suicide and Von Elmo and that kind of shit, you know? Rocket from the Tombs is in there too. And then a lot of this kind of stuff Here Lies Man, and then King Buffalo and Nebula and Dozer and some of the other ones that I haven't shown tonight. That's all off sort of by itself with separate from the metal. Because it just scratches a different itch for me, beyond a certain point. If it's Doom at the Saint Vitus level or Candlemass, it goes in the metal. But if it's like in the Here Lies Man vein or like the King Buffalo vein or something like that, that goes in this other section. I don't have a good name for right now.
I would say because it's more of the relaxing kind of doom. It's not the grandiose epic stuff, like there's a whole different vibe to it.
Yeah, actually, something. I don't know if I would have said relaxing, but I think that I think you kind of nailed it because you're right. It is more sort of a.
It's like some of it, like not in a bad way, but I could like fold my laundry to it, and I'm all right. I'm like, I could just let it play and chill, mow the lawn,
Yeah, like it's doom, but it's like positive doom in a way.
Yeah, it's like I think the stoner side of things too, kind of just probably is a big reason why.
Yeah.
It's just kind of I guess it's what it's trying to do at the same time. It's not trying to get you anxious, and nervous, and it's I mean some of that stuff is apocalyptic. I mean, we've shown, obviously, especially with some of the space, but at the same time it can fool you because sometimes the sound puts you in a different zone. It does me anyway.
Yeah. I would agree that a lot of this stuff does not necessarily quantify as metal. And I think that's why we have this show. Because regular heavy metallurgy episode dedicated to this? No. But Sabbatharium Hour.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
We can give this all a spotlight.
I think Marty now we're onto something when they propose this idea. It's like, there's a whole side to an audience of people who probably want to see some of these kind of pulls you may not normally see, or trying to come up with a topic, that would shoehorn some of this stuff in there. But I don't think I've seen many man's ruined stuff come up.
Exactly. I mean, because this is all like adjacent, but I would never categorize most of the stuff that we've talked about as metal explicitly.
Well, it's cool. It's a way to expand the channel. Kind of introduce a little bit of everything for everybody with all the other content that that's put out. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that Earth Diver record is great, though. I just listened to it earlier today. It was one that, like I said, they're like the essential ones I was hung up on, but that would have been a good one to talk about, too, because it has that doomy shit. It has a vocal style that's really sort of unusual on this kind of stuff. It's for my ears, too. It's almost like black metal vocals. But
I don't know what to do when you say it reminds you of the Replacements. Isn't that what you said?
No, I said the Residents.
The Residents. Sorry, the Residents.
I can handle
maybe that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, the Residents. Well, it's here's the thing. I don't think any of these bands like sound like the Residents. It's just like closer to that as far as like the itch that it's going to scratch in my head. But I do love the Residents. Like if you tell me a record sounds like Mark of the Mole, I'm going to buy it. Like 100%. So they're like a totem to me. They're like one of those like foundational bands, like underlying the whole rest of my taste, along with like Deep Purple and Venom and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. See, you brought up some of that classic stuff. There's one more classic thing I'll mention towards the very end that I think will make sense. But again, I'll wait till that, because you kind of just gave me an idea.
Well, let me close things off, or at least my round, with tying it back to my original classic, Black Sabbath. Look, it's an Aussie worship band. Chevy.
Oh, man.
The Electric Sleep. This is one of those bands that just nails the Ozzy Osbourne vocal delivery. Dude's very nasally, very up there, but still brings like a solid emotional oomph to his vocal delivery. Very much like Ozzy. But then instrumentally, this band feels a bit more like lackadaisical and like stoner rock, kind of like a bit more laid back. And
it's like the guy from the first episode we did, Grave Disgrace. He kind of has that thing going on too. It just reminds me of that.
He totally does. Which Rick, I got to tell you real quick, that Grave Disgrace album might be one of my favorites of the year so far.
It's good, man. I didn't think it was an album this year, but
if anyone has not checked out Grave Disgrace's Helldiver, please.
Out of Russia. Yeah, I don't think we
out of Russia. It's worth checking out. Okay, sidetrack over. This Chevy album is also awesome. Virtual Machine just has these pulverizing, like very face forward, heavy riffs that really just, project and propel the album forward. And we just get a nice balance of everything, from here. Like Destiny's Rainbow and Electric Sleep are a bit more laid back, but then we get Savannah as kind of the ballad of the album, and then tracks like Stardust are a bit longer and more, weed heavy, if you will. So definitely have to mention Chevy, one of those like Aussie era worship bands that totally seals the deal. And actually, Rise Above Records. I don't know if we've mentioned them
Oh,
yet.
obvious one.
As
Yeah, we should have,
the
man.
most obvious of
But I feel like
the
some
record
people
pulls.
put out is not always the more cosmic side of stuff. Then they do have some of it, but it's not like
Uncle Acid.
they're not the first I think about when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Someone mentioned Uncle Acid in the chat earlier, though, and I was like, "Oh, fuck
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
let's
dude,
go right in."
Yeah, Uncle Acid for sure. And then kind of a pet band for me, like a local band from North Carolina. I don't know if you've had the chance to see these guys, Aaron, because
I
they're
haven't.
close, but Cosmic Reaper.
Great.
Check them out if they ever come near you in Charleston. Hopefully one day they will, but I will keep talking about them every chance that I get. Honestly, this back like logo thing is my favorite of
That's good stuff, man.
anything they've put out. But
You sent me their first album.
yes, I gotta send you this one the next chance I get to pick up some stuff from them. This
really
is their
You've been hyping that one up a lot, man.
dude. Bleed the Wicked, Drown the Dam from last year is
You reviewed it too.
was one of my favorite albums from 2025. Probably one of the best stoner doom albums I've heard in recent memory. Just like classic sleep stoner doom, but with actual hooks and amazing songwriting throughout. Like tracks such as Blood Feather and Bones are just anthems waiting to be discovered. And then of course there's a song about Alien. We've got Perfect Organism on here, which is about, getting face hugged all over. And this is the debut, the self-titled debut, Cosmic Reaper, which have to mention. We've got a track, Heaven's Gate, a quick way off the planet, right? Find the Heaven's Gate, get out of here.
That. You got the vinyl.
Yes, look at that.
And I got to shout out Louis Golden because he sent me this one.
Wow,
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, this guy's
Cosmic
awesome.
Reaper's great shit,
This
man.
guy's awesome over here. Look at this, dude. Yeah, I absolutely love this band. They nail that sleep worship sound, but I think they make it enough their own that it doesn't feel derivative completely. Like you can tell where they're pulling from, but it has that more cosmic kind of feel than I think Sleep ever were able to achieve. And there's a level of hooks and songwriting that I don't think Sleep tried either. So Cosmic Reaper, highly recommended. We'll continue to talk about them. Final album for tonight. Kind of had to mention it because once again, album cover.
Oh, of course. Last year.
Astronaut. No return. And I really like these guys and I really like this album, but then at the same time, it's like one of those where it's like, okay, we get it. We know who you're trying to sell to and who you're appealing to. This is just one of those. We like weed and we want you to know that we're a stoner doom sludge everything band that likes weed. Like they literally do a song in every single style on this album. Like there's a desert rock song. There's a sludgy, like harsh vocal track. There's even a track that makes me think of like Death Doom, where like they bring in these like very low, harsh vocals and it slows
like
down.
Style like that, they do the cleans and the sludgy and the harsh. It's just a little bit of combination of everything.
They do, but they separate it out from track to track, so they don't quite find their own sound. They're just playing like the stereotype of each different style. So
yeah.
It becomes a bit off-putting to a certain extent. I mean, I still bought the record. I mean, possibly because of the album cover, but it, maybe a band to watch, and hopefully they kind of get their own style for the next one.
Same astronaut from the Sciences. That's his resting place.
Hey, this astronaut has been getting to a lot of different places tonight, I think. So, but that'll do it for me. Rick, let's wrap it up. What you got, my friend?
All right. I just got one, and that is actually we're jamming this today. I forgot how much I really liked it because it's been a while. And this is a band I've followed for a little bit. I still need to get the latest one, which they named it 410, not 420. It's 410. So that out of Oslo, so a Norwegian band, and Electric Tempo by Superlinks. And her name is Paya Isekin, something like that, which is always hard to say. And but this is a band that's it's very stoner, but they put a lot of emphasis on the psychedelic. It's very trancy, but it's thick and very lush, and there's a lot of really cool atmosphere. It kind of it's really hard to describe, but there's just something ethereal about this. It just kind of just when we talk about stuff that makes you feel really good, like you put this on, you forgot what you walked in the room for, like what this is playing. You just get so taken away and captivated. And I like how like the background kind of matches my background a little bit here. I guess just kind of cool. So they actually named their album Electric Temple, and one because I wanted to mention Jimi Hendrix, because he was one of those guys that later in his career he wanted to move more and more into the more psychedelic stuff. It was getting more and more towards that approach and that sound rather than just the hard rocking stuff. He wanted to experiment, and had he kept going, I think he would have eventually, went more and more in that realm. But this is the kind of band like Jimi Hendrix was trying to get you to elevate, experience a certain kind of psychedelic nirvana. And I feel like these guys are kind of just taking on that kind of mantle. I'm not saying they sound like Jimi Hendrix, but they're going for the psychedelic kind of vibes and approach and just a feel good essence of that. Like Electric Temple is really good. I've always liked what was the one? Just New Moon. New Moon was something where I got into them from back in the Bandcamp days, and yeah, just really really good stuff. So again, Pyle's vocals again it will just completely take you to another planet, man. Yeah, let me see. Siren Sing I really like. Moonbather, title track. Yeah, it's just really good stuff overall. I thought I'd end it with this and something a little more that I didn't think anybody would pull for tonight. But I just feel like they don't get mentioned enough. Arc Essence put this out. I feel like this is one I bought like off Cosmic Peddler or something. So I don't remember the label that these guys were on. But yeah, really good stuff. So Super Links, definitely check them out. I feel like a lot of the female fronted bands didn't get mentioned a whole lot, so I figured I'll do some pulls on some of those because there's a lot of really good ones, and they have a different kind of feel with the way they approach a lot of their singing, which I think is also very, very relaxing. And I tell you, my lawn looks so much better when you play this stuff. It just does something magical.
Yeah, I hate mowing the fucking lawn. There are no words for how
you
much.
You got to put on Super Links, man. I'm telling you, you'll see results.
It's a very therapeutic thing, Aaron. I don't know. It's like
I just fucking hate it. It's hot.
You
here
step
too.
outside of yourself. I'm in Louisiana, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's
get
even hotter where you are.
Yeah.
Like when we're getting a break, y'all aren't. I work with a lot of people who are in the New Orleans area, so it's like, yeah, like it'll be like raining here, and they'll be like, no, it's still fucking 90 and muggy here. So yeah,
it's both at the same time somehow.
Due respect, yeah.
Raining, but also 90s and muggy.
You don't get it all year round here today. Like you get it most of the time in New Orleans, Logan. You get probably the most punishment when it comes to that stuff. Like we're kind of wussy about it. Like we'll get the muggy day, we're just completely we give up.
I'll take New Orleans to Texas. I'll tell you that much. I will take.
Oh yeah.
If there's a competition here.
But, I couldn't believe how humid it got in Austin. I lived there for like a year and a half. I was like, where's this fucking coming from? The desert? It's like it's in the middle of the state. It's not like it's Houston where you expect it to be humid. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Texas, man, it's like a different world. I feel like. But that kind of wraps it up, huh?
Yeah, I think
the final frontier is done.
So many bands, man. It might be overwhelming for people who just diving into this stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, like I kind of stopped at Hawkwind or whatever, but like you guys are throwing all this other stuff my way. Like, where do I even begin? You know what I mean? So we got almost 3 hours. Like almost, we're not quite there, but almost 3 hours. Material and stuff that people can check out.
Lots of homework, but people should subscribe to this channel if they're new to this stream. Subscribe and rewatch this and check out all the other heavy metallurgy
newbies
stuff.
Here too. If you guys subscribe to heavy metallurgy, you'd be like 56% cooler.
That's true.
I mentioned that. So I didn't check I didn't fact check that, but I'm feeling pretty certain about it.
Seems scientific.
Space is the place. Glad you guys joined on board. It's awesome. Thank you, Aaron, for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Science.
Really a pleasure.
This says you said you all over it, man. Like, dude, you got to be on for this.
Absolutely.
But I guess thank you very much for tuning in. But as far as show notes, Logan, if you want to take it away with what's going on next week.
Yeah. I mean, just in heavy metallurgy news, album club. I'm part of that every Wednesday night. We dissect a different album. This upcoming Wednesday, it's a Jim from Iowa's recordings pick. We got Asher on with Rites of the Black Mass, a kind of 1990s undiscovered death metal classic, potentially. Tune in on Wednesday to find out. And then, of course, there's a Friday night show and all kinds of other reviews and stuff coming up too. So definitely subscribe.
Yet to be announced what that is, right, so far. But hop on the Wednesday nights. Always cool. Asher on, it's like the most 180 you can get from the Stoner Doom stuff here. I can think of.
Yeah, I'm going to start that tomorrow. It's going to be a sobering experience, I think. So
quite a transition. But yeah, I think what happens is I got a lot of stuff over here to check out. I'm going to do some spins and and check out what you guys pulled here. And man, it's just like there's so much of it out there. That's the thing. You know what I mean? It's like you can dive into an area like you just getting to South America. It's just alone. I could just spend a whole month on that.
Yeah, listen, to anyone who's watching this and feels overwhelmed because they're new to it, I experienced that myself not long ago, and frankly, I still do when I go looking at this shit. Because even though I do kind of know the big names at this point, I knew at least a lot of the bands that you two were showing tonight, that sort of thing. Even if I didn't know the specific records, you just got to embrace it, man. Just like accept that there's a whole ton of shit, and instead of being like, oh my God, I'm intimidated, being like, I'm not going to live long enough to listen to all these records. And that's awesome because I'm never going to run out of great music to listen to. As long as I keep my mind open and I can still keep taking in new shit, there's just going to be more and more and more, and it's never going to let up. It's never going to expire, So embrace that. Don't be afraid. Just fucking run with it. And if you hear some records that are clunkers, well, some records are clunkers. If you never hear a bad record, you're not going to learn about music,
Another thing too is some of this stuff does require a little bit of your patience. You know what I mean? If you're one of those that it's got to hook you in like in the first 30 seconds or it's too Sabbath adjacent, you know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of a lazy assessment, I think, in a lot of ways. I think this is why we do this, to give people need to really dive in and give these bands a chance. You know what I mean? Like you need more than just 30 seconds. You dive into some of the, especially the more psychedelic stuff.
There's a lot of layers,
But yeah, awesome. Another cool pull.
Well said. Yep.
Aaron, you've been doing a lot more videos like lately. I've noticed like you've just been, I don't know if you just you're in the zone right now or what, but you do the blind pulls, I think, which makes it even funner.
Those are like the easy ones, actually. Like if I don't have a topic, I'm like, I can always do one of those. You know what I mean?
No, it's entertaining. It's like
I
the whole
get one out a week. So yeah, it's like a challenge though to myself. Those always are, because like there's the risk I'll pull one out that I don't remember. Then I'm like, fuck, I'm sort of caught with my pants down. But but I can usually come up with something to say. And sometimes I find shit that I'd forgotten about, and that's always a great feeling too. It's like, oh boy, I forgot about this also, and I'm going to go listen to it right now.
Your channel is a good example of one of the way you do it doesn't require editing, because I love the whole spontaneous take on it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, well, thanks.
I need some things going on in visuals. Like, there's that Dreadful Minutes guy. Like, do not subscribe to his channel. He's just too much shenanigans or whatever. Yeah, don't listen to anything he says. Like, don't subscribe, but don't listen to anything he says. But don't subscribe. Just say.
or subscribe, and he does a lot with his videos, but I agree, both Aaron and Rick.
I guess what I'm trying to say is subscribe to Aaron, subscribe to Metal and Beer Snob over here,
subscribe to Rick Dreadful Minutes, because apparently he doesn't want you to, but I want you to, so go subscribe, and subscribe to Heavy Metallurgy. And awesome show, right, guys? Cheers.
Yeah, well, it's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun, totally.
But links in the description, as Marty puts it. And check out the Discord server for the Heavy Metallurgy. Very active, a lot of cool people who, and I noticed it started taking this sort of life of its own, like where everybody's got these themes and the regular things going on. There's the Friday shirts and and whatnot, which is which is pretty cool. I just wish I could have more time to come in and get a little more engaged with some of this. But if you have a lot of time to kill, whatever, and you want to check out some cool stuff that people are showing who are on these chats in the community, that's definitely one way to go about it. So highly, highly recommended. So other than that, any last notes or anything or sign-offs?
Live long and prosper.
Long and prosper. Took me a long time to get that right, man. I remember doing this.
You ever do this?
Oh man.
Oh, now he's just showing off.
Yeah, kind of. It took me a lot of practice to be able to do that, but it's supposed to be good if you play the bass. I remember I started playing with this bass player friend. I was like, you got to do this. It crosses and uncrosses the tendons in your hand.
I've recently started playing bass. Someone sent one my way, and it just after playing guitar for so long, I gotta change my brain to play like this rather than just the finger picking style like I'm used to with guitar. You know what I mean? I'll get the Les Claypool eventually. It's just give me a month.
I don't claim to play any instrument. This is back in the past when yeah.
There we go. You'll have you'll grow another limb before we know it. By the time we get back on. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Have a good night, and stay tuned for Volume 3. We haven't quite decided on the topic yet, but we'll see you guys soon enough. And I don't have any loud parting words for this, man, other than just stay out, long and prosper. So, cheers.
Take care.